Chapter 2852. Yes, he's very good, Ziming said with a smile. As soon as he came back, he excitedly talked to me about young Master Xiao. He said that the trip to Sky Patrol City was worth it. I didn't expect that there would be a dragon among men like young Master Xiao in the Dao sect. Ahem. Xiaohua's face was a little red. He coughed twice and said, Zai is also the only confidant I've met in my life. I came to Million Mountain Meng to see Zai, but I have some urgent matters to attend to. If Ziming leaves Zai's message, I'll go see him when I'm free. Oh. Ziming only came to her senses now. Looking at the curious maidservants around her, she waved her hand. Most of these maidservants had smiles on their faces as they controlled their soul beasts to hide. Seeing that all the maidservants had left, Ziming smiled and said, Young Master Xiao, I'm very curious. How did you come to Million Mountain Meng? If you don't have any special secrets, why don't you tell me? No matter what, I'm still a person of Meng Mountain. Who knows, I might be able to help you. Oh. Xiaohua frowned and hesitated. He and Ziyi had met by chance and had only met once. Although they could be considered close friends, it was not to the extent of entrusting their lives to each other. Although Ziming and Ziyi were twin siblings, they were not the same person after all. Besides, Ho Yan's soul beast was the same as Ziming and the others. Even the bone staff and the ghost head were the same. Who knew what kind of relationship Ziming had with Ho Yan? Seeing Xiaohua hesitate, Ziming smiled and said, I'm Zai's twin brother. Usually, our hearts are connected. Young Master Xiao doesn't need to be afraid. Hee, Xiaohua shook his head slightly. Ziming, you're not Zai. If Zai was here, I would naturally be honest with you. But you're Ziming. Although you're my twin brother, do you think I can explain it to you? As expected. Ziming wasn't angry when she heard that. Instead, she smiled and said, Zai said, TSK, young Master Xiao is really unique. Most people would avoid saying such offensive words, or they would say it in a roundabout way. Young Master Xiao, on the other hand, is so straightforward. You've really opened my eyes. Haha, this Xiao regards Zai as a close friend. It is precisely because of this kind of magnanimous heart, and this kind of straightforward words that Ziming and Ziyi are so similar that this Xiao can't not speak to Ziming like this. If Ziming feels that this is inappropriate, I ask for Ziming's understanding. Xiaohua didn't hold back and said straightforwardly. You flatter me. Ziming pursed her lips and smiled. Young Master Xiao is someone my younger brother admires, so I naturally admire him. How about this, young master? Think about it, and see if there's anything I can help you with. A fence and 3 poles. I have some people who can help with small matters. All right, Xiaohua hesitated for a moment before telling him about Xiao Mao being kidnapped by Hamba. As for Ho Yan and Yi Yu, he didn't mention a single word. What? Hamba? Ziming was stunned when he heard this. This item has been extinct in Meng Mountains for many years. How is it possible at this point? Ziming suddenly realized something and smiled apologetically. Young Master Xiao, it's not that I don't believe you. It's just that I've been busy with other things recently and haven't been in the shaman village. The appearance of Hamba is really too strange. I have to think about it. Also, don't worry, young master. I'll immediately pass down the order to immediately let the spirit warriors of my shaman village search for Hamba's whereabouts. Once they find it, they'll immediately inform young master. As he spoke, Ziming tapped the spirit beast under his feet with the bone staff in his hand. The spirit beast let out a jiji sound as if it was summoning the maidservant who had just left. Then Ziming raised his head and smiled at Xiaohua. Looking at Ziming's grin, Xiaohua's heart was slightly warmed. Ziming's smile was almost exactly the same as Ziye's. It immediately reminded him of that day in Sky Patrol City, when the two of them were singing loudly under the wind and snow. In the blink of an eye, nearly 10 years had passed. The sword battle was coming to an end, and this mysterious Ziye's face was also revealed. Alas, fate makes fools of people. I thought Ziyi was a disciple of a cultivation family. Although there's a difference in status, he's still a confidant. I didn't expect Ziyi to be a soul cultivator. But he and I. Thinking of this, Xiaohua was suddenly shocked. Ziyi has already made it clear that a hero shouldn't ask about his origin. He already knows that I'm a cultivator of the Dao sect. From what I see now, Ziyi might be a person from the shaman village who's not inferior to Xiao Mao's background. He's much more honorable than me. He didn't care about my origin and bent over to befriend me. What else do I have to think about? Isn't this kind of friendship that doesn't ask about one's origin and origin much purer than those with ulterior motives? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's lips curled into a smile. He also looked at Ziming, as if he also saw Ziming as Ziyi. Ziming blushed a little under Xiao Hua's gaze. He glanced down and whispered, "By the way, young Master Xiao, aren't you participating in the sword battle in Sky Patrol City? Why did you suddenly come to Ming Mountains?" It's a long story. Xiao Hua understood and didn't hide it anymore. Just as he was about to speak, there was a burst of chirping and a group of maidservants flew back with smiles. Immediately after, Ziming's face became serious and he gave the order. Among the dozen or so servant girls, other than a few who were slightly older, the others were all sent out by Ziming. The girl who had almost been killed by Xiao Hua was also among them. When Ziming gave the order, he used the language of Ming Mountains, which was similar to what Xiao Mao had said earlier. When the maidservants heard this, their faces showed respect and they quickly left to carry out the order. After everyone was sent out, Ziming smiled and said, "Young Master Xiao, if you have time, why don't you go to a place with me? If there's news about Xiao Mao, it'll be convenient for me to inform you. Otherwise, Ming Mountains is so big. Although you have a message talisman, it won't be easy for you to find him." This Xiao Hua hesitated and said, "Actually, Xiao Mao isn't the only one who came with me to Ming Mountains. There's also Li Zongbao from Utopia faction and Hongxiao Fairy from Huanhua sect." "I was going to say Ziming laughed and said, "Young Master doesn't need to say anything. If you don't want to go with me, I won't force you." However, from what Ziyi said, Young Master seems to be an expert in alchemy. Although the place I'm going to has nothing to do with alchemy, there are still some connections. If Young Master can go, you might be able to gain something. So it's like that. Xiao Hua was a little surprised. He knew that Ziming meant well. But the problem was Xiao Mao's life and death were uncertain. How could he go with Ziming with peace of mind? Ziming seemed to understand Xiao Hua's hesitation and said, "That Hamba is an ancient iron corpse. He has the bloodline of the Hembai, and is very good at hiding. With young master's cultivation, I'm afraid it won't be easy to find him. Only us Ming Mountain soul warriors can use special soul techniques to find clues. Instead of searching for a needle in a haystack, why don't you let my subordinates go? Once there's news, it won't be too late for young master to go." Ancient iron corpse? Hembai bloodline? Xiao Hua was slightly surprised and thought, "Isn't Xiao Mao also of the Hembai bloodline? Right, wasn't that Hamba chasing after me? I'm afraid it wanted to find the fire ape. But when it saw Xiao Mao, it immediately abandoned the fire ape and took Xiao Mao away. If it had a strange killing intent toward Xiao Mao, it would have killed him just now. Then it must have something to ask of Xiao Mao. Since that's the case, Xiao Mao's life might not be in danger. Of course, what Ziming said is very true. How am I going to find him? Even if I kill that fire ape, it won't be able to find Hamba's whereabouts. Why don't I let her subordinates go and find him? Once there's news, I'll hurry over." After making up his mind, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "I can naturally go with Ziming to that place. However, my fellow Taoist also wants to go. Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay." Ziming's face was very happy and said, "Master Go Qin is an expert. In her eyes, there's not much difference between cultivators, swordsmen and soul warriors. If you go, she might be very happy." "Master Go Qin?" Xiao Hua stared blankly. Ziming knew she had a slip of the tongue and said with a smile, "We'll talk about this on the way. Since we have to go anyway, there's no need to hide it from the young master." Then, Ziming looked around in an exaggerated manner and asked, "But where are the two fellow Taoists of the young master?" At this point, Xiao Hua drooped his head like a defeated rooster and said, "I was only focused on chasing Hamba and lost them." Ziming smiled and said, "It's okay. Watch this concubine's methods." As he spoke, Ziming took out his bone staff and began to chant. Xiao Hua could tell that his voice was an extremely difficult dialect of Ming Mountain. However, as the dialect was being chanted, rays of green light appeared. These green lights were touched by the bone staff and turned into fireflies. As the fireflies disappeared into the air, wisps of black smoke emerged. In the end, the black smoke condensed into hundreds of ghost heads in midair. Although these ghost heads were small, their faces were clear. They had small noses and small eyes and looked very cute. They were completely different from the ghost heads summoned by Ho Yen and the others. Looking at Ziming giving orders in a low voice with a smile, the many ghost heads scattered and flew away, like a group of naughty children or a group of sparrows looking for food. Xiaohua couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Why are they all ghost heads? Why are Ziming's ghost heads so cute? Hee hee, young Master Xiao, in a moment, there will be news of young Master Lian. Miss Hongxia. Ziming saw Xiaohua's smile and said shyly, "Thank you, Ziming." Xiaohua couldn't help but say, "I wonder if Ziye's ghost heads are also so cute." Hee hee, when you see Ziyi, you can ask him yourself. Ziming covered her mouth and smiled. She looked at Xiaohua with interest. Xiaohua smiled and didn't ask anymore. Chapter 2853. In just the time it took to brew a cup of tea, a lot of ghost heads flew back one after another. They gathered in front of Ziming and started chattering. Xiaohua was baffled when he heard this. However, from Ziming's smiling face, Xiaohua knew that there was news about Fairy Hongxia and Li Zongbao. Sure enough, Ziming raised his head and said, "Fortunately, I did not disappoint you. The two esteemed guests are about 100 miles away." "Good. Ziming, please wait a moment." Xiaohua cupped his hands and flew in the direction Ziming pointed, somewhat impatiently. "Master." Xiaohua had just flown up when a woman hurriedly said, "This person is a Dao sect cultivator. Master is going to visit Master Qin Qin. How can you bring them along? I know that Master's matter is extremely important. This is the last chance. If Master angers the Master, everything will be for naught." I naturally know this." Ziming looked at Xiaohua's back and said faintly, "In this world, who knows the origin? Who knows where to go? Who knew who they would meet here? Who is the one who sent us off? This world is so big, to actually meet him here." At this point, Ziming smiled faintly and said, "Actually, this person is an extremely famous alchemist in the Dao sect. Perhaps he will be of some use to me. If you bring him along, perhaps you will have some confidence in this matter." "Oh, I understand." The woman suddenly understood and nodded and retreated. Ziming snorted coldly and shook his head as he watched the maidservant leave. He seemed to be extremely disdainful. Subsequently, many more ghost heads returned, but Ziming did not ask any more questions. He gently tapped the bone staff, and the ghost heads turned into black smoke and fell into the bone staff. After a while, 3 figures appeared in the distant horizon. It was Xiaohua, Li Zongbao, and Fairy Hongxia. Ziming raised her head, and her right eyebrow slightly raised. An indescribable feeling appeared in her bright eyes. Seeing Ziming behaving in such a manner, Fairy Hongxia smirked as well. A hint of enmity could be seen in her eyes, and the expression on her face spoke for itself. On the other hand, Ziming no longer had the same expression as before. He cupped his hands and said, "Brothers, please. I am a woman. I can't be considered a brother." Without waiting for Li Zongbao to reply, Fairy Hongxia lightly said, "If it's convenient for you, just call me Dao friend." "Hee hee, that's not impossible," Ziming said with a smile. "Since my younger brother addressed young Master Xiao as fellow Daoist that day, I will also address you as fellow Daoist." Fairy Hongxia looked at Xiaohua in annoyance. If she had not met Ziming here, Xiaohua might not have told her about Ziyi. Thinking about the mysterious Jiuxia who had just left, and then looking at Ziming who was also of noble birth and extraordinary appearance, Fairy Hongxia felt an indescribable sense of crisis. "Haha," Xiaohua said helplessly, "Senior apprentice brotherly, this is my old friend's twin sister Ziming. That Ziyi looks very similar to her. And junior brother has already told us about Zai. He's a mutant. If I meet him, I will also make friends with him." Li Zongbao was straightforward, bowing and saying, "Since he's your old friend, then he's also my old friend. Ziming, you don't have to be so courteous. I will still have to rely on Ziming and Ziye's strength in the millions of Ming Mountains." Rest assured, young Master Li. Ziming lightly waved her hand. As long as it's young Master Zhao's matter, Ziyi will definitely do his best. Even if it's Ziming, I will definitely not shirk from it. Seeing Ziming's indifferent attitude towards Li Zongbao, and her praise for Xiaohua, Fairy Hongxia also said, I hope things will be as you said, that we can find Xiao Mao's whereabouts as soon as possible. Rest assured, Miss Hongxia. Ziming lightly said, as long as it's within Meng Mountains, Ziming will definitely be confident. I hope. Fairy Hongxia gave a tit-for-tat reply. Ziming. Xiaohua was very sensitive to Fairy Hongxia's unfriendly tone. He lightly sighed and reminded, my two Dao friends are already here. Shouldn't we leave now? If we can help Ziming before we find Xiao Mao, I will also be happy. Young Master Xiao is too considerate. Ziming heard Xiaohua's words and was very happy. She said, if Ziming has anything to ask of young Master Xiao, I hope that young Master Xiao will not stand by and do nothing. Rest assured, Ziming is Ziye's elder sister. Why would I stand by and do nothing? Xiaohua hurriedly explained when he heard Fairy Hongxia's cold snort. However, no one knew whether these words were directed at Ziming or Fairy Hongxia. Young Master Xiao, please. Ziming did not care who Xiaohua was talking to. She slightly bowed, and the spirit beast beneath her flew up and came to Xiaohua's side. Oh, Ziming, please lead the way. Seeing Ziming actually inviting him onto her spirit beast, Xiaohua was shocked. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, we will just fly by the side. How can that be? Ziming faintly glanced at Fairy Hongxia and said, esteemed guests have come from afar. How can I let you be tired? It is better for you to sit on my spirit beast. Hearing Ziming refer to herself as a concubine, Fairy Hongxia said indifferently, Ziming, we are cultivators. What is the reason for sitting on your spirit beast? We also have a flying magic item. After saying that, Fairy Hongxia looked at Li Zongbao. She had really forgotten who was the one who kept the flowing cloud flying ship. Seeing Fairy Hongxia looking at him, Li Zongbao raised his eyebrows. Although he did not say anything, the expression on his face said, how can such a precious item like the flowing cloud flying ship be with me? Indeed, Xiaohua laughed bitterly and took out the flowing cloud flying ship from the space. Under the influence of his magic power, the flying ship slowly expanded. Oh, this is the Dao Sect's flying magic item? This is the first time I have seen it. Miss Hongxia, can I sit on it? Ziming ignored Xiaohua and asked Fairy Hongxia instead. This Fairy Hongxia was at a loss for words. She could not refuse so obviously and could only hesitate. You are a spirit warrior, do you think you can sit on it? This concubine can even speak the language of cultivators. Naturally I can sit on a flying magic item, Ziming said with a smile. He urged his spirit beast to fly above the flowing cloud flying ship, and jumped down from the sky. His body was strong and agile. Fairy Hongxia pursed her lips. Although she did not express any dissatisfaction on the surface, it was obvious that her gaze was full of disdain for this uncivilized woman who did not know etiquette. Seeing Fairy Hongxia roll her eyes after pursing her lips, Xiaohua was very tactful. After boarding the flowing cloud flying ship, he immediately hid in a corner, neither controlling the flying ship nor speaking. If it was the Shui of the past, she might have jumped on the flying ship, called out husband, and sat beside Xiaohua sweetly. But Fairy Hongxia knew that she could not do that. She just stood by the side of the flying ship and looked at the desolate surroundings, thinking about something. Li Zongbao was helpless. This flying ship could only be driven by him. Miss Ziming, please lead the way. Li Zongbao looked at Ziming, who had a strange expression on her face, and said lightly, it's in that direction. Ziming nodded and pointed in a direction. Then, she gave a few instructions to the maids on the left. After the maids agreed, she said to Li Zongbao, this concubine will follow Mr. Li. These maids will follow soon. Li Zongbao responded indifferently. Then, he urged the flowing cloud flying ship to go in the direction Ziming pointed. The maids rode their spirit beasts and flew behind the flying ship. In a moment, they disappeared without a trace. The atmosphere on the flying ship was a little strange. Xiaohua sat cross-legged in a corner of the flying ship, holding a jade pendant in his hand. He seemed to be comprehending a cultivation technique. Fairy Hongxia had been staring forward since she boarded the flying ship. Ziming stood in the middle of the flying ship and did not seem unfamiliar. Only Li Zongbao was a little busy. He sat cross-legged and focused on driving the flying ship. After the time it took to eat a meal, Ziming's mouth curled up slightly. She asked with concern, "Mr. Xiao, when you met Hitorigami earlier, did it hurt your spiritual sense?" Xiao Hua heard and opened his eyes slightly. He nodded and said, "That's right. That Hitorigami's divine ability is indeed powerful. I was not careful and fell for it." "If that's the case, then it's still very fortunate," Ziming smiled and said. "But if Mr. Spiritual Sense is burned by Hitorigami for a long time, I'm afraid it will be permanently damaged." At this point, Ziming's face changed slightly. She said anxiously, "Mr. Xiao, could it be that you darling Xiao?" Although Fairy Hongxia had been facing outside the flying ship, her ears were already perked up. When she heard Ziming's question, she sneered in her heart. She also knew about Hitorigami's divine ability. Her spiritual sense was also injured by Hitorigami, but it was fine now. However, when she heard Ziming's question and saw Xiao Hua's situation, she immediately understood. She panicked and turned around. Could it be that your spiritual sense was injured by Hitorigami?" Sigh, Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and sighed. "After I separated from you all, I met Hitorigami. Without my spiritual sense, where do you want me to go to find you all?" Darling Xiao, Fairy Hongxia's eyes were filled with tears. She instantly thought of the time when they were in danger. Xiao Hua's spiritual sense was so weak. How could she not know that Xiao Hua was risking his spiritual sense being permanently damaged to find her? Fairy Hongxia did not want to be angry anymore. She floated to Xiao Hua's side and asked anxiously, How is your spiritual sense now?" "How else can it be?" Xiao Hua released his spiritual sense and scanned everyone. Hiss, Fairy Hongxia sensed for a moment and could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. At this moment, Xiao Hua's spiritual sense was very weak. It was not as vast as before. His spiritual sense even felt like it was riddled with holes. It was seriously injured. Darling Xiao, Fairy Hongxia was so distressed that she did not know what to say. Chapter 2854. It's all my fault. Fairy Hongxia lowered her head and said, "If I didn't ask you to come to Meng Mountain, you wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury." "That's right. Divine Sense is the weapon of a cultivator's Naiwan Palace. It's the most delicate. Ordinary injuries are difficult to heal, let alone such a serious injury." Ziming had made it clear that Hitorigami's injury would be permanent. Without some secret technique, it would be impossible to heal. Fairy Hongxia's expression changed. Ziming was also shocked. She frowned as if she was thinking about something. But the more she thought, the tighter her frown became. It seemed like she couldn't come up with a good idea. "It's nothing." Xiao Hua wanted to comfort her, but when he saw the concerned look on Fairy Hongxia's face, he retracted his hand slightly and kept the jade pendant in his hand into his space. He then said, "It's just a spiritual injury. Let it rest for now. Perhaps there will be a chance to heal it in the future." Sigh, Master Xiao is indeed magnanimous. Ziming's eyes flashed with concern. She sighed and said, "I'm a spirit warrior. Although I've dabbled in the spells of the Dao sect, I'm not familiar with divine sense. But I know that, to heal divine sense, it's extremely difficult." Speaking of this, Ziming's eyes lit up again, and he said happily, "By the way, Master Kuchin is experienced and knowledgeable. Maybe she has some secret skills. Young Master Li, let's hurry over, the sooner the better. Senior, let me help you." Fairy Hongxia heard, and quickly ran to Li Zongbao's side. She sat cross-legged and channeled her magic to help Li Zongbao control the airship. "Sister, don't be anxious," Ziming whispered. "We have time. When we get to the master, I'll definitely ask her for help." "Thank you, sister." Fairy Hongxia's face reddened. She was embarrassed by her previous actions. She said, "I'll leave Xiao Hua's matter to you. However, you have to take priority. Even if Master Kuchin doesn't agree, when we return to Shi, we'll still be able to find the secret technique." "Both matters are very important," Ziming smiled. and Master Zhao's matter has to be put before mine. Oh. Fairy Hongxia was stunned. She didn't understand and asked curiously, why? Forgive me for not being able to speak of this matter. Ziming shook her head slightly, then turned around to look at Xiao Hua and said, however, since young Master Xiao is my younger brother's best friend, I will definitely work hard. All right, Fairy Hongxia nodded her head and looked at Xiao Hua, her eyes filled with worry. Xiao Hua, who was sitting cross-legged, was overjoyed. His spiritual will was indeed severely injured, and the injuries were just as Fairy Hongxia and the rest had seen. However, in addition to his spiritual force, he also had Buddhist awareness. Even if he couldn't use his spiritual force, couldn't control magic treasures and couldn't speak, would he still have Buddhist awareness? Was there still any innate primordial water? Do you still have the wishful wand? What about Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter? Actually, the injury to his spiritual force didn't have much of an effect on his sacred art. As for the healing that Fairy Hongxia and Ziming were worried about, if it was before Xiao Hua met Jiuxia, he would have to worry about it. However, with Jiuxia's sun-shrouding art, all these difficulties weren't difficult at all. That was the sun-shrouding art that was comparable to the ancient divine fire art. It specialized in cultivating the primordial spirit and strengthening one's spiritual force. Repairing the spiritual force was just a minor detail. What Xiao Hua had comprehended earlier was the content of the sun-shrouding art. Previously, Xiao Hua wanted to explain to Fairy Hongxia and Ziming. However, Fairy Hongxia actually took the initiative to talk to Ziming out of concern for him. Although it was his first time meeting Ziming, and there wasn't anything that Fairy Hongxia was thinking about, wasn't it better to coax Fairy Hongxia to divert her attention? Besides, this sun-shrouding art was given by Jiuxia. Would Xiao Hua dare to explain it to Fairy Hongxia? When I see that Grandmaster, no matter what kind of secret technique he has, I'll just tell my wife that I got it. Xiao Hua thought to himself, and began to comprehend the sun-shrouding art word by word. Seeing Xiao Hua close his eyes and meditate, Fairy Hongxia gradually calmed down. She knew that this husband of hers had always been mysterious. She had also practiced the god's guidance before. Even though it didn't have the effect of repairing one's spiritual will, but since Xiao Hua had the god's guidance, he might have other secret techniques as well. After feeling relieved, Fairy Hongxia sighed with emotion that Xiao Hua wasn't afraid of the pain of his spiritual force being burned for her. Her heart was filled with sweetness again. In such a good mood, Ziming was no longer an eyesore. Therefore, not long after, Fairy Hongxia and Ziming chatted casually and slowly became familiar with each other. Grandmaster Kuqin's residence seemed to be very far away. The flowing cloud airship flew straight for half a day, but Ziming didn't say anything to change direction. Seeing the sun gradually setting in the west and some birds and beasts starting to return to their nests, Ziming stood up and sighed. Back then my Meng Mountain was prosperous. Under the setting sun, it was also abnormally lively. How could it be desolate now? With such a decline, it's not strange that the drought demon appeared. That Fairy Hongxia opened her mouth and wanted to tell Ziming about the corn. But after thinking about it, this was a matter between Xiao Mao and Xiao Hua. Since Xiao Hua didn't tell Ziming, she didn't dare to say more. She stopped halfway. "Oh right, Miss Ziming." At this moment Li Zongbao, who had been silent all this time, spoke. "Are you a citizen of Huta Stronghold?" Ziming glanced at Li Zongbao. Her attitude was obviously not as warm as when she was with Xiao Hua. She replied indifferently, "Young Master Li seems to know the situation of my Meng Mountain very well." "I just found out about it." Li Zongbao didn't think much of it and replied, "The Meng Mountain region near Huan country isn't big. There are only the descendants of the great god Shibai and the great god Hutu. Since Xiao Mao is a citizen of Shibai, Ziming's accent is different from Xiao Mao's, and the extravagance is so grand. Naturally you are a descendant of the great god Hutu." "Yes, that's true." Ziming nodded. "Meng Mountain is dominated by the descendants of the two great gods. The descendants of the other great gods are all in Meng Mountain. Or perhaps there are also some of our citizens in there." I would like to ask. Li Zongbao slightly worded his words and asked again. "The 12 great gods of Meng Mountain. Who are they?" Young Master Li seems to be very concerned about the matters of Meng Mountain. Ziming was a little unwilling to answer. However, as a junior, if there isn't an urgent matter, I won't casually mention the name of Meng Mountain's godslayer. Otherwise, I will be punished by the sacred beast. Sacred beast? Li Zongbao raised his eyebrows slightly. He hadn't asked for the names of the 12 great gods, and now a sacred beast had appeared. If young Master Li is interested in these matters, you can ask Xiao Mao. Ziming seemed to refuse to answer. Actually, Li Zongbao bit his lips and said in a low voice, I've heard that there is a mysterious technique in Million Meng Mountain that can revive the dead. And I've seen young lady Ziming holding a bone staff. You should be able to control ghosts, so I would like to know if the descendants of the great god Hutu have such a technique? Yes, this was the main purpose of Li Zongbao's visit to Million Meng Mountain. Even if Ziming didn't want to answer, he still had to ask. Ziming was slightly stunned. She had never used the ghost-taming technique in front of Li Zongbao and Fairy Hongxia. However, she only needed to ponder for a moment to understand that this was just Li Zongbao's guess. That's right, Ziming admitted frankly. The descendants of the 12 great gods of Meng Mountain all have their own secret divine abilities. I'm the descendant of the Huta stockade, so I naturally know the ghost-taming technique. However, as far as I know, the technique that can revive the dead that young Master Li mentioned, I'm afraid it doesn't exist. At this point, Ziming raised her head slightly and looked at the Million Meng Mountain that was gradually shrouded in darkness. She said faintly, Death is like this darkness. Sooner or later, it will cover the earth. Even if there is light after the darkness, but how can it be so easy to revive the dead? Oh, Li Zongbao felt a chill in his heart. However, when he heard Ziming's last sentence, he became anxious again. Could it be, there is such a god in noble shaman stockade? I'm willing to beg this great god with everything I have. Other than the 12 great gods, who in Meng Mountain dares to call themselves great gods? Ziming sneered. Besides, it's a great divine ability to revive the dead. If it was an ancient great god, of course he could do it. But how could the people of today have such a divine ability? If young Master Li visits Meng Mountain and there is such a god, I'll do what young Master Li did and beg this god with everything I have. This Li Zongbao was speechless. Sister Fairy Hongxia knew what Li Zongbao was thinking. Seeing him embarrassed, she quickly said, It's very difficult to revive the dead. However, we heard about the miraculous Million Meng Mountain in the country of Xi. That's why we came to look for it. Could it be that sister really doesn't have a way? Ziming wasn't too cold to Fairy Hongxia. After giving her a glance, Ziming shook her head slightly. Humans are the spirits of heaven and earth. Their 3 souls and 6 spirits are all profound. We have inherited the witchcraft of our ancestors. Although we can temper our souls and use the power of souls to cast spells, it only touches the surface of the soul. How can we revive the dead? Ziming's bright eyes moved as she looked at Xiaohua. There was a hint of a smile in her voice as she said, In this world, there is someone as infatuated as young Master Li, who wants to find a secret technique in Meng Mountain. If I'm not wrong, she must be young Master Li's sweetheart, right? That's right. Li Zongbao admitted without hesitation. I'm willing to exchange my life for her. Sai Fairy Hongxia sighed. She was a little disappointed. Ziming Xiaohua, who was far away, was happy. He had comprehended the secret technique and had a foundation. He opened his eyes and said with a smile, From your tone, it seems that many swordsmen have come to Meng Mountain to look for this secret technique. It's not just the swordsmen from Sword Domain. Many cultivators from the 3 kingdoms of cultivation have come as well. Ziming replied with a smile. Moreover, Zai was invited to Sky Patrol City to help a cultivator called Tu Hong. Chapter 2855. Tu Hong. When Xiaohua heard this, he was shocked and asked curiously, Ziyi went to Golden Spring Mountain to help Tu Hong revive Yuji? Oh, young Master Xiao knows about this? Ziming was surprised. I don't think Ziyi told you about this? Xiaohua laughed. Everything in this world has a cause and effect. The intertwining of cause and effect is like a tangled knot. Therefore, there has never been a secret in this world that has been hidden for 10,000 years. Although Ziyi didn't tell me about Golden Spring Mountain, I have experienced life and death in Golden Spring Mountain, and I know some of Tu Hong's secrets, so I naturally know that Ziyi went to help Yuji. I see. Ziming laughed. Tu Hong is a cultivator in Sky Patrol City. His dual cultivation partner, Yuji, died because of him, so he vowed to revive Yuji. Your Dao Sex methods are truly miraculous. I don't know what method he used, but he was actually able to preserve Yuji's soul from dissipating. Furthermore, he even used the Ice Frost Mirror to preserve Yuji's corpse. This way, Ziyi would be able to use some of his methods. But that Yuji didn't seem to be revived? Xiaohua had seen Yuji before and asked curiously, what methods can Ziyi use? How can he revive Yuji? Ziming pursed his lips and laughed. That day, Ziyi told the person clearly that he could only let Yuji speak and move, but he never said that he could revive Yuji. In fact, even so, it consumed a lot of Ziyi's soul power. If Tu Hong didn't have a soul treasure from Meng Mountain and paid a certain price, Ziyi wouldn't have made a trip to Sky Patrol City. At this point, Ziming laughed again. Of course, if not for the trip to Sky Patrol City, I'm afraid Ziyi wouldn't have met young Master Xiao. A soul and a spirit. Li Zongbao was a little dazed, as if he didn't even have a soul and a spirit left. Ziming, if someone has died for dozens of years, can they be like Yuji? Xiaohua hesitated and asked. He knew that if he didn't confirm this matter, Li Zongbao would never be able to let it go. Decades. Ziming was shocked. Not to mention that the 3 souls and 6 spirits have completely dissipated. Furthermore, if it weren't for the Ice Abyss Mirror, I'm afraid that even the corpse would have turned into white bones. How could it possibly be refined into? At this point, Ziming did not explain and vaguely said, actually, even if you take on the appearance of Yuji, does young Master Xiao think that it's the same as a living person? Rather than that, why should we disturb the peace of the people in the underworld? Xiaohua was silent. He looked at Li Zongbao and said in a low voice, Ziming, I've always been confused about something. In this world, is there such a thing as the 9 springs? There's an underworld? What about the netherworld? Of course there is. Ziming chuckled and said, the ancestor of my Hutu village, the great god Hutu, was the god of the netherworld. She transformed her body into a world, and became a netherworld master. Otherwise, how could the people of my Hutu village have the ability to control ghosts? Oh, there really is a netherworld. Xiaohua's mental energy array was activated. Then where is it? Where? How would I know? Ziming shrugged her shoulders. Her expression was actually very similar to Ziye's. Other than the great god Hutu, or the 12 great gods, I'm afraid no one knows. Then where did Ziming summon all the ghost heads from? Xiaohua broke the pot and asked. I only need to wave my bone staff and chant an incantation. Those ghost heads will naturally come. Ziming innocently blinked her eyes and said. As for where they came from, do I need to know? That's true. Xiaohua scratched his head. Miss Ziming, I still have a question. Please enlighten me. Li Zongbao's mind calmed down and asked again. The person who died for decades, can you see her? Her situation in the netherworld? This Ziming hesitated for a moment and said, actually, the so-called netherworld is just a title. I really don't know the specific situation. Hearing that Ziming did not directly refuse, Xiaohua knew that Ziming probably had some tricks up her sleeve. He looked at Li Zongbao and sighed. Alas, this matter is related to me. Oh, is it related to young Master Xiao? Ziming was startled and showed interest. Xiaohua roughly described Kai Zhuoxia's expression and sighed. That day, my cultivation was too shallow. I watched fellow Kai fall in the fire lake, but I couldn't do anything, so young Master Li is also such an infatuated person. Ziming's attitude towards Li Zongbao changed a little. She thought for a moment and said, I will naturally help young Master achieve this wish. However, this matter is not too difficult, but there are also a few difficulties. Miss, please speak. Li Zongbao was overjoyed and said anxiously, I will listen to your instructions. My Hutu stronghold has a soul treasure called Tong Ming. It can realize the face of the person who died in young Master's heart, or the situation of the so-called netherworld. Ziming explained, But this item can only be used once every 10 years, and can be used by 3 people at a time. According to what I know, the last time it was used was around 10 years. But if it cannot be used, young master will have to wait. Well said. Li Zongbao hurriedly nodded. In addition, this item is sometimes very sensitive, but sometimes it is not effective. Young Master Li should not place too much hope on it. Ziming said again. I know. If I can see Wuxia alive, even if there is a chance, I will not give up. Li Zongbao hurriedly said. Alright, since that is the case, I will go and see Master Kuqin. Young Master Li can follow me back to Hutu's stronghold. Tongming is my clan's sole treasure, and it is enshrined in the ancestral hall. Ziming smiled. Young Master Xiao can also go and see Zai. Good, Xiaohua clapped and said. I have long wanted to see Zai again. As you wish. Ziming smiled like a flower. Sister, when senior brother Li uses it, can I watch from the side? Fairy Hongxia hurriedly asked. Of course not. Ziming shook her head. But after young Master Li uses it, I can use it too. Will I disturb Wuxia? Fairy Hongxia was a little worried. Oh, sister also wants to see Kai Wuxia? Ziming was stunned again, but then she understood. Sister's surname is also Kai? That's right, my name is Kai Hongxia. Kai Wuxia is my sister. Fairy Hongxia nodded. Ziming was a little speechless. She thought for a moment and smiled bitterly. This sister does not know. You can try. Then forget it, Fairy Hongxia shook her head. Don't do anything bad to sister. Up to you. Ziming nodded slightly. She had indeed never encountered such a situation. However, when she looked at Xiaohua again, Xiaohua had already closed his eyes and was preparing to meditate. Young Master Xiao, could it be that you don't have any relatives that you want to remember? Ziming was a little surprised. Because anyone who knew the effects of Hutu's stronghold's Tongming would be pleasantly surprised or curious. They had never been as calm as Xiaohua. This Xiaohua thought for a moment and shook his head. I really don't. That's strange. Ziming was a little curious. But Xiaohua smiled and closed his eyes again. Ziming tactfully didn't ask any more questions. She didn't have Xiaohua's drive to get to the bottom of things. The place where Master Qin lived was really far away. The flowing cloud airship flew for more than 10 days before they arrived at a place filled with dead trees. Along the way, Xiaohua asked Ziming a lot. After all, he was still worried about Xiao Mao. But Ziming shook her head. There was no news on the way, so she didn't know whether or not they found Hamba. Of course, Ziming's 2 reasons for comforting Xiaohua made Xiaohua feel a little relieved. The first reason was that if the Hutu stronghold spirit warriors couldn't find Hamba, then it was even more impossible for Xiaohua to find Hamba. And Xiaohua had seen Ho Yen of Hutu stronghold lead the spirit warriors to find Hamba, so he naturally believed Ziming. The second reason was that Ziming mentioned before. Hamba was an ancient iron corpse and had some relationship with the ancient god Shibai. And Xiao Mao was the descendant of the ancient god Shibai, so his bloodline was abnormally pure. Hamba might not have any bad intentions. Or maybe, Hamba wouldn't dare to have any bad intentions. And Xiaohua had thought about this before. He guessed that Hamba must have her reasons for kidnapping Xiao Mao. Therefore, Xiao Mao's life might not be in danger. But the problem was that even if Xiao Mao's life wasn't in danger, other dangers were worrying. If Hamba really kidnapped him and made him the wife of the stronghold, then it would be really unfortunate. But now they were in the millions of Meng Mountains. Even if Xiaohua knew that Ziming was comforting him, he could only listen. There was a limit to human strength. He didn't have the ability to find Xiao Mao and Hamba at any time. At this time, Xiaohua missed Jiuxiao very much. It wasn't that he missed Jiuxiao's beauty, but Jiuxiao's seemingly omniscient ability. Maybe, after comprehending the complete sunshade art, I should also take a look at Jiuxiao's divination skills. Xiaohua looked at the withered yellow below the flying boat, and couldn't help but think. There are so many withered trees here. It must have been a place with lush vegetation in the past. Fairy Hongxia said from the side. Ziming heard and sighed. Yes, there used to be mountains and rivers, flowers and grass here. There were also some beautiful soul beasts and feathered birds resting here. It was really a beautiful scene. I came here with Zai a few years ago and really liked this place. But now, the weather of Meng Mountains has changed greatly. Not only are the plants withered, even people find it difficult to survive. This Xiaohua hesitated slightly and said, "This might have a solution." What did young Master Xiao say? Ziming didn't seem to understand Xiaohua's meaning. At this time, Xiaohua had already thought it through. He nodded and said, "What I mean is that the weather of the millions of Meng Mountains has changed greatly. The plants have withered. This is a natural phenomenon. But human survival might not be without a solution." Chapter 2856. Oh, Ziming nodded slightly. It's easy to say but difficult to do. I can be considered experienced and knowledgeable, but I haven't been able to find a solution. This is one of the reasons why I came to find Master in I Ching. Actually, Ziming, you should hurry and find Xiao Mao. Xiaohua was ready to point out. He has the ability to solve this huge problem. Oh, is that so? Ziming was stunned, but then she suddenly realized. Right, isn't Great God Shibai in charge of the weather? Xiao Mao has Great God Shibai's bloodline, so he must have a solution. Ziming looked back again and smiled bitterly. My maid hasn't caught up yet. The previous order has already been passed down, so let's just wait. Alas, I'm afraid that's the only way. If Ziyi was here, Xiaohua would give the seed to Ziyi without hesitation. But Ziming wasn't Ziyi, so Xiaohua was afraid that it would affect Xiao Mao. Turned that way. Ziyi looked around casually and pointed in a direction. There's a beautiful platform after flying another 20 or so li. Just stop there. Xiaohua looked at the scenery on his left and right, which was more or less the same, and sighed in his heart. He couldn't figure out why Ziming would turn here. After flying for a while, they saw a mountain peak that looked like a platform. However, this mountain peak didn't have any trace of beauty. The entire mountain peak was jade-colored and looked like a large spirit stone from a distance. Xiaohua couldn't figure out what was so special about it. The flying boat landed on the mountain peak. The entire mountain peak was 1 li wide. It was abnormally flat, as if it had been cut by a giant axe. There wasn't a single extra stone. Naturally, there was no trace of anyone on such a flat mountain peak. Even the grass and trees were gone. Seeing Xiaohua and the others' confusion, Ziming smiled. This is the reception platform. Everyone who wants to meet Master and I Ching has to wait here respectfully for Master and I Ching's arrangements. Reception platform? Xiaohua was shocked. She's using this mountain peak as a reception platform? This Master and I Ching is really generous. Yes, Master and I Ching often says that only by using heaven and earth as a furnace and the common people as the fire can one refine the world's weapons, Ziming said with a longing expression. Heaven and earth can naturally be used as a furnace, but the common people are never fire. When Xiaohua heard this, he was unhappy and said indifferently, "This kind of refining technique is a blood sacrifice." Hee, young Master Xiao, I'm afraid that my Meng Mountain's method of artifact crafting is different from your Dao sect's. Ziming grinned. Wait until you see Master and I Ching's refining skills, then you won't say that. Maybe. Xiaohua jumped down from the flying boat and looked around before replying. Sister, are you here to find Master Huaqin to refine a weapon? Fairy Hongxia also flew down and asked tentatively. Sai, that's right. Ziming sighed and said. This matter is very important to me, and it's so important that I can't disclose it. Therefore, I don't dare to tell you. Everything will be clear when Master and I Ching comes. All right, Fairy Hongxia saw that Ziming was very serious and did not dare to ask any more questions. She followed Ziming and sat on the mountain peak. Li Zongbao kept the flowing cloud-flying boat, glanced at Xiaohua, and sat down as well. A faint hot wind blew past from time to time. The sun was hanging in the sky like a fireball, and the sunlight shone directly. Not only did it shine on the four of them, but it was also reflected by the mountain peak, making the entire mountain peak hot. The four of them sat on the mountain peak as if they were sitting in a fire. Although Xiaohua and the others were cultivators, after a long time, their state of mind was also somewhat unstable. Nonsense, they had been sitting straight for half a day, and the scorching sun had already turned into the setting sun. No one would be too calm, right? Xiao Hua silently circulated the sun-shrouding art that he had just comprehended, slowly repairing his divine sense. At the same time he looked around, trying to see where the so-called master and I Ching would appear from. Seeing the full moon rise and the stars twinkling, a long figure walked in front of everyone under the water like moonlight. The figure was a slightly fat old man. The old man's face was hidden in the darkness, and his white hair and beard flickered under the moonlight. His footsteps were very steady, and his voice was also very rhythmic. Seeing the old man approaching, Ziming hurriedly got up and bowed. Master Qingming, may I ask if Master and I Ching is in the valley? I am Master and I Ching's follower, and I am not a master. You can just call me Qingming. What surprised Xiao Hua and the others was that the old man's tone was very cold. Master has ordered that you are a noble of the Huta village, and you have the shaman token. You don't have to wait here, and you can enter the valley by yourself. After saying that, he did not wait for Ziming to reply, turned around and left, as steady and rhythmic as when he came. Good, this Master and I Ching's imposing manner is not small, Xiao Hua thought to himself. Looking at Ziming again, there was no trace of unhappiness on his face. He whispered to Xiao Hua, Young Master Xiao, be quiet, and follow me to pay respects to Master and I Ching. Okay, Xiao Hua whispered to him. Hearing this, Ziming was slightly startled, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Out of Xiao Hua's expectation, Ziming walked to the edge of the reception platform, and there was a flight of stairs that led straight to the foot of the mountain. This flight of stairs was one step after another, as if there was no end to it. Qingming, who had just appeared, walked step by step towards the foot of the mountain. This flight of stairs was personally made by Master and I Ching. Ziming's face was filled with respect, and he whispered, Therefore, all the people who came to pay respects to Master and I Ching must walk down from this flight of stairs to show their respect to Master and I Ching. Tisk, Xiao Hua sneered and thought, I'm afraid this guy is fishing for fame. He was worried that people would rush in to find him, so he made a flight of stairs here, and used his name to suppress others, making them obediently walk in. On one hand, he gained the upper hand by a show of strength, and on the other hand he gained face for himself. As the saying goes, people of the same trade are enemies. Xiao Hua had not seen the Master and I Ching, but he was speechless and slandered this master. This flight of stairs was really very long. Xiao Hua and the others walked straight for 2 hours before they arrived at the foot of the mountain. When they looked again, the flight of stairs extended into the darkness, and into the valley at the foot of the mountain. Damn it, is there a mistake? Xiao Hua whispered. How long is it from the foot of the mountain to the bottom of the valley? Young Master Xiao, don't be anxious. Ziming whispered. There is still an hour. Last time, it took this concubine 3 hours to pay respects to Master and I Ching. Isn't this a waste of time? Xiao Hua said coldly. Just fly down from the mountain. This so-called Master and I Ching is really too arrogant. Young Master. Ziming did not have the slightest intention of complaining. Master and I Ching knows the purpose of this concubine's visit, and to personally receive this concubine is already very satisfied. Perhaps this time, there really is hope. If Ziming was a cultivator of Dao sect, Xiao Hua would have already asked her. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua did not know how to refine soul tools, so of course he would not speak blindly. He could only curl his lips, expressing his disdain. The welcoming platform during the day was very hot, and the dark valley was cold and desolate. A sound similar to the sound of pines drifted into Xiao Hua's ears, and waves of cold air blew up from the bottom of the valley. Xiao Hua was very familiar with this sound. It was the sound produced by the cold wind blowing through the withered treetops during the winter. At this time, all the plants in Meng Mountains were withered, and the leaves were long gone. The only things that were swaying in the cold wind were the branches that pierced into the night sky. Xiao Hua did not know when it appeared, but a pea-sized lantern was shining in the depths of the valley. Although the light was small, it made people feel warm in their hearts, as if they had a goal, as if there was hope in their hearts. When Xiao Hua got closer and walked down the stairs, he saw an old man in black clothes standing just a few feet away from the stairs. The light came from the candlestick held in the old man's hand. The light was small, but it was able to clearly illuminate the old man's face. Sure enough, it was not out of Xiao Hua's expectations. The old man's face was ferocious. Not only was there a very deep knife wound on his face, even his ear was cut off, which made people think of a lot of things. However, this was not what surprised Xiao Hua the most. What immediately attracted Xiao Hua's attention was the old man's height. This old man was only 3 feet tall, and Qing Ming, who was standing respectfully beside him, was at least twice as tall as him. However, Ziming did not lose his respect because of the old man's height. He quickly ran over from the stairs, bowed and said, "Ziming greets Grandmaster Hua Qin." Strange. Xiao Hua felt a little strange. He thought Ziming would use the etiquette of Meng Mountains to kneel on the ground, but unexpectedly, Ziming's etiquette was similar to that of the cultivators of Dao sect. Ziming is the nobleman of Huta stronghold. How can I be so respectful? Please get up quickly. Grandmaster Hua Qin's voice was very strange. It was a little hoarse and a little sharp. She reached out her hand to help Ziming up, and said with a smile, "I don't dare. Grandmaster is a senior, and Ziming is a junior. I don't dare to be disrespectful." Ziming stood up with Grandmaster Hua Qin's hand, then pointed at Xiao Hua and the others and said, "They are a few old friends of mine. They are cultivators of Shi Dao sect. I met them on my way here, and they happened to have something important to do, so I brought them here. Hee, it's okay." Grandmaster Hua Qin said with a smile, "Everyone who comes from afar is a guest. I didn't know that you were coming, so I'm sorry for not coming out to greet you. It's a sin. Junior greets Grandmaster Hua Qin. Fairy Hongxia and the others did not dare to be negligent. They quickly stepped forward and bowed, then reported their names. Xiao Hua cast a sidelong glance at this Grandmaster, but he had no choice but to follow the two and bow. In contrast to Grandmaster Hua Qin's pleasant expression, Qing Ming's face was always covered in frost. He looked at them coldly, waiting for Grandmaster Hua Qin to order him to bring something to entertain Ziming and the others. Only then did he turn and leave. Then Ziming and the others were led into the cave by Grandmaster Hua Qin. This cave was somewhat similar to a Dao sect cultivator's cave abode. However, the furnishings inside were mostly white bones, vines and other objects. There were also some rather large oil lamps hanging on the walls. There were no clear flower stones that were commonly seen. Chapter 2857. Since it was an oil lamp, it was hard to avoid the flickering of the flame. The flickering of light and shadow in the cave clearly showed the strangeness of soul cultivators. Deliberately mystifying. Xiao Hua snorted again. As they sat down, a few young disciples immediately served them tea. Of course, these young disciples had long faces like Qing Ming. They came and left quietly, without even a smile. Little friend Li, little friend Xiao, and Miss Hongxia. Master Qin raised his teacup and smiled. "My tea is not as good as the spirit tea of Taoist sect. Please don't mind. Please. I don't deserve it. Thank you." Li Zongbao answered briefly. He also raised his teacup and took a sip. After checking that there was nothing wrong with the tea, he swallowed it. "Actually, I don't usually use tea." Master Qin was a straightforward person. "It's just that some cultivators came from afar, so they asked my disciples to simply boil the mountain spring water and use it to complement the tea." "Master, you're too polite." Fairy Hongxia smiled and said, "Currently the millions of Meng Mountains are extremely dry. It's good enough that we have spring water to boil the tea." "Sigh, excellent." Master Qin sighed. "This astronomical change is the beginning of a great change in the millions of Meng Mountains. There will definitely be earth-shaking changes in the future. Unfortunately, those ordinary natives are innocent. I'm afraid they won't be able to escape from this catastrophe." "Master," Ziming said anxiously, "I came here today for 2 things. The first thing is this. All the people of Huta Stronghold and Shibai Stronghold are struggling on the line between life and death. Although some soul cultivators have already set their sights on the millions of Meng Mountains and led their disciples into Sword Domain, it is still a temporary solution. No one knows if Sword Domain can save the lives of the people of the 12 great gods. I hope that Master can be merciful and bestow a miraculous method to save hundreds of millions of natives. Sigh, if I had a miraculous method, I would have used it long ago. Why would I wait until now? Master Qin Qin shook his head. This is an astronomical disaster. It's not something that can be solved by humans. Seeing that Master Qin Qin was also helpless, Ziming was a little disappointed. Then Master Qin Qin asked, "How's the battle between soul cultivators and swordsmen going? Perhaps killing our way into the sword domain isn't a solution, but it might be effective in the end? The war will be handled by Shang village and the others. Our Huta village and Shibai village will not participate directly." Ziming shook his head slightly. "However, I heard that the battle went very smoothly. Those swordsmen didn't have any power to fight back under the attacks of my soul warriors." Master Qin Qin nodded slightly and said, "Actually, since Meng Mountain has undergone such a great change, the sword domain and the 3 kingdoms of cultivation must have undergone great changes as well." As he spoke, he looked at Li Zongbao and the others before continuing. "The Dao sect's dharma is incomparably wondrous. Perhaps there's a better way?" Li Zongbao looked at Fairy Hongxia, not knowing how to reply. Ziming continued, "I've also sent my people to the Sword region and the 3 kingdoms. Even Elder Wu and Ji-Man from the lower camp have been to these places. It seems like they are different from our Meng Mountains. Even if they have a solution, it's not suitable for our Meng Mountains. Sigh, forgive this old man for being powerless in this matter." Master Qin Qin sighed compassionately. His skinny figure seemed even smaller. However, Ziming's second request, this old man, will agree to it today. Really? Ziming was overjoyed. He almost jumped up and said, "Master is indeed a trustworthy person. This junior thanks Master." "You're welcome." Master Qin Qin laughed. "You've brought the shaman token to me 3 times. Even if this old man doesn't owe your shaman village any favors, this item is related to the prosperity of the shaman village. This old man can't refuse. However, because this is my 3rd time crafting a soul treasure, this old man has to be more cautious. I need to prepare for a few more days. Furthermore, the soul falling lamp of your Huta village is extremely mysterious. This old man doesn't have much confidence in repairing this soul treasure. You shouldn't be too happy too early." "What? Master? This is already your 3rd time crafting a soul treasure?" Hearing Master Qin Qin's words, Ziming was not as happy as Master Qin Qin said. Instead, he was extremely surprised and said, This junior thought that this was your 2nd time crafting. If I knew this was your 3rd time, this junior, if you knew this was my 3rd time crafting, you wouldn't have come." Master Qin Qin laughed and said, "This 3rd time will come sooner or later. Furthermore, this soul-falling lamp is extremely important to you and to the Huta village. This old man being able to repair this soul-falling lamp for the 3rd time is also the fate of this old man in this lifetime." Xiao Hua, who was at the side, was surprised. He said coldly, "Master Kuchin, this is a little strange. You can only craft 3 soul treasures in your lifetime?" Hee. Master Kuchin's face was abnormally dry. His skin was like a dried orange peel wrapped around his face, and his small head was comparable to a skeleton. Previously, Xiaohua only noticed a scar across his face, but now under the light, he could see it even more clearly. That smile was very strange, and coupled with that face, under the light, it was really somewhat repulsive. "Young Master Xiao," Ziming could clearly hear the dissatisfaction in Xiaohua's voice, and even the misunderstanding. He hurriedly said, "Meng Mountain's crafting of soul tools is different from the Taoist sect's crafting of magical treasures. Every time we craft a soul tool, we need to consume life essence. Especially for a soul treasure like the soul-falling lamp, the consumption is even greater. Although Grandmaster's crafting skill is one of the best in Meng Mountain, but he can only craft 3 soul treasures in his lifetime. After fixing the soul-losing lamp for me, his life essence will be exhausted, and he will return to the arms of Huta Goddess." "Ah? There's such a saying?" Xiao Hua was stunned. Therefore, although there are many master craftsmen in Meng Mountain, most of them will not craft soul tools for others, let alone soul treasures. Ziming explained again. Only Grandmaster Kuchin would not refuse anyone who came to his door to craft a soul tool. Therefore, Grandmaster Kuchin's reputation in Meng Mountain is very good. But later, because Grandmaster's life essence was used up too much, many soul warriors who received Grandmaster Kuchin's favor joined hands and sealed off the guest reception platform where Grandmaster Kuchin was. No one could look for Grandmaster Kuchin anymore. But the Grandmaster was merciful. He personally chiseled the stairway to heaven from the valley to the welcoming platform. He earnestly invited the spirit warriors and made an agreement. If there was someone who needed to craft a spirit armament, as long as they could sit on the welcoming platform for a sufficient amount of time and use the stairway to reach the valley, the Grandmaster would be able to craft the spirit armament for them. When the soul warriors saw Grandmaster Kuchin's determination, they knew that they could not stop him, so they all knelt on the ground and left. At this point, Ziming looked at the darkness outside the cave and sighed. This guest reception platform is said to be a test, but what's so difficult about it? Young Master Xiao has walked all the way here. How could you see any difficulties? This is actually Grandmaster Kuchin's merciful heart. If someone were to craft a soul tool, they would first carefully consider whether or not the soul tool was worth Grandmaster Kuchin's life essence. Whether or not the soul tool was worth Grandmaster Kuchin's life essence. Whether or not the soul tool was worth Grandmaster Kuchin's life. Young Master, don't look at Qingming's cold face. When we came down, we might be summoned by Hu to God. When Xiaohua heard this, he was shocked. He did not know the secrets of soul cultivators crafting soul tools, but he was originally a craftsman. If crafting a soul tool, and even if it was a soul tool, could actually shorten his lifespan, then to tell the truth, even if he was beaten to death, he would not craft it. What's more, the person who wanted to craft the soul tool had nothing to do with him. Not waiting for Ziming to finish speaking, Xiaohua stood up and walked in front of Grandmaster Kuchin. He bowed and said, Grandmaster Kuchin, this junior has misunderstood you. My previous words were offensive. Please forgive me, senior. It's fine. Grandmaster Kuchin still had a smile on her face, but this smile made Xiaohua look very benevolent. It was far from the strange smile from before. Grandmaster Kuchin raised her hand, indicating for Xiaohua to rise. Although she didn't use any of the magic power that Dao sect cultivators often used, Xiaohua couldn't help but stand up. He was afraid that if he was any slower, he would blaspheme this magnanimous soul cultivation grandmaster. This junior has always believed that I do not judge a book by its cover. But when it comes to this matter, this kind of narrow-minded thinking can't help but appear. Xiaohua didn't try to hide anything. He straightened up and spoke with a pained voice. Furthermore, this junior also knows some of the soul tool crafting techniques of the Dao sect. Judging others by my own standards immediately magnified my originally dark thoughts. This concubine really admires young master's magnanimity. Ziming's eyes flashed with joy. If young master is a craftsman, then you will definitely have Grandmaster Kuchin's heart in the future. AI, this junior also has some distracting thoughts. Li Zongbao stood up and bowed. In front of Grandmaster Kuchin, this junior also has to bow. Don't. Grandmaster Kuchin laughed. Don't stand up. Regardless of whether it's you or me. We are all humans, not gods. We cannot judge people by their hearts. This has always been the most important thing. This old one was also like this when he was young. But later on, with some luck, he slowly changed. You are so young, yet you can understand this. In the future, your actions will definitely surpass this old one. Grandmaster's bearing of risking her life to craft soul tools, TSK, this junior will definitely not do that. Xiaohua's heart was calm, and his words were clear and bright. Don't speak so highly of this old one. Grandmaster Kuchin actually stretched out her thin and small hand. Ziming brought the Huta Stockade shaman token to this old one. This old one didn't dare to disobey. Grandmaster must be joking. Ziming shook his head slightly. The shaman token has no effect on Grandmaster. Sister. Fairy Hongxia was about to stand up and bow again, but was stopped by Grandmaster Kuchin. At this moment, she found an opportunity to ask Ziming, why does Grandmaster Kuchin have to repair this soul-loss lamp? And why did you consume life essence when you were crafting soul tools? Chapter 2858. Hearing that, Ziming was not surprised and laughed. I have long wanted to explain this to young Master Xiao and the rest, and there are some matters related to young Master Xiao. But this matter is very important. Only with Master Kachin here can I be at ease to explain. Even if my sister did not ask, I still have to say it. Of course, as for my soul refining method, I do not know the details, so I will have to ask Master Xiao to answer. I can only explain the reason why the fallen soul lamp must be restored to young Master Xiao and the rest. Oh. Hearing that this matter was related to him, Xiao Hua was startled, but he changed his mind, and immediately understood, and laughed and nodded. Xiao Hua nodded, and Fairy Hong Xia was once again in a fog, not knowing what was going on. At this time, Ziming patted his hand, and from his waist, a palm-sized brocade bag took out a black object. This object was about a foot tall, and was divided into two parts. The top part was a fist-sized weird beast head, and the bottom part was like a mountain peak, sharp at the top and round at the bottom. However, upon closer inspection, it was different. The strange beast's head split into three under the light. The three heads were clustered together in the middle, forming a beast's mouth. This beast's mouth was pointing straight at the sky. It seemed to have some fangs, but they couldn't see clearly. The beast's mouth was empty. Also, the lower part of the fallen soul lamp had the same weird pattern. These patterns seemed to be white bones, but also like a skeleton piled up together. It looked like a beast's body. The soul-stealing lamp was abnormally dark. When the light of the lamp landed on it, it was immediately absorbed. There was no reflection, but the so-called shape was faintly discernible to the naked eye, as if it was the flickering light of the lamp. Dog heads? The beast heads of the fallen soul lamp had a sinister and ferocious expression, but their shape was familiar. Xiao Hua couldn't help but think to himself, a lamp made from three dog heads? Maybe the lamp was spat out from the dog mouths. This is my Ho-Tu stronghold spirit treasure, the fallen soul lamp. Ziming took out the soulfall lamp and twirled it in his hand. He proudly said, this thing hasn't been lit up yet. If Master Kachin can repair it this time, my Ho-Tu stronghold will immediately regain its former glory. Young Master Xiao, even if the nascent soul cultivators of your Dao sect are very powerful, if they are enveloped by the lamp of the fallen soul, their lives will be at my disposal. Oh my God, you're making my little heart jump. Xiao Hua pats his chest exaggeratedly and says with a smile, it seems that no matter what, this Xiao can't let Master Kachin repair this fallen soul lamp. Or perhaps, this Xiao will have to consider whether or not to take the soulfall lamp. Back then, young Master Xiao used the soul-falling lamp. Ziming said meaningfully, back then, young Master didn't even want it. What are you planning to do now? Oh. Xiao Hua stared blankly for a moment, then immediately understood, and said with some disbelief, what? That day, Midnight actually took this soul lamp to Sky Patrol City? There was something like this in the storage pouch? This Xiao really can't believe it? Ziming smiles and looks at Master Kachin. Refining a spiritual servant naturally requires this soul-falling lamp. Otherwise, Midnight wouldn't have brought this soul-falling lamp to Sky Patrol City. Spiritual servant? Hearing this, Xiao Hua squints his eyes, as if thinking of something. Sister, didn't you say that this soul-falling lamp hasn't been repaired? Fairy Hong Xia asks curiously. Then how can Midnight use it? The soul-falling lamp is a spirit treasure. Legend has it that it was passed down by the great god Ho-Tu. Its functions are mysterious. Although it hasn't been repaired and can't be lit up, it still has other small functions. Ziming smiles. If that's the case, why must it be lit up? Fairy Hong Xia asks curiously. This soul-falling lamp hasn't been lit up for many years. Now that it's repaired, Master Kachin's life will be sacrificed? Sigh, if I wasn't forced into a dead end, how could this concubine do this? Ziming sighs and loosens his hand. The soul-falling lamp flew into the air, and a strange black shadow covers the entire cave. Although this soul-falling lamp is a spirit treasure, it's also my Ho-Tu stronghold's inherited treasure. Ziming looks up at the soul-falling lamp, and says faintly, But if the next generation Elder Wu or G-Man wants to inherit, they must light up the soul-falling lamp. Only when the soul-falling lamp is lit up will it mean that they have received the approval of the great god Hutu. Ziming is not talented, but I am the next G-Man candidate. If Ziming wants to become G-Man, the only way is to light up the soul-falling lamp. Ah, G-Man? Xiaohua and the rest were stunned. They knew that Ziming's status in the Hutu stronghold was not ordinary, but they never thought that it would be so high up. Under one person, above 10,000 people, or even the one at the top. Ziming glanced at Li Zongbao and said faintly, "Moreover, according to our ancestors, if you control the soul-catching lamp, you might be able to control the mysteries of life and death, and you might be able to revive the dead. In this world, young Master Li is not the only one who wants to revive the dead." Ziming's voice is bitter, floating in the cave. Following the shadow of the soul-falling lamp, a kind of desolation suddenly rises. Miss Ziming, Li Zongbao also sighs in his heart. He thinks for a moment and asks, "This soul-falling lamp has been damaged for a long time, right? Otherwise, it would be impossible to ask Master Kuqin for help now. Perhaps Mrs.'s second reason is the main point." Hearing this, Ziming does not hide and says with a nod, "Young Master Li is right. This second reason is the most important. As for this soul-falling lamp, it has been damaged for thousands of years. However, my Hutu stronghold has never had many children. The one who can inherit Elder Wu and G-Man has always been only one person. There will not be any disputes, and no one will care whether this soul-falling lamp is lit or not. But my generation is different. There is more than one person who is qualified to inherit G-Man or Elder Wu. Although I am in front of the line, if I can't light up the soul-falling lamp, I am afraid that I will not be able to sit firmly in the position of G-Man." "So that's how it is." Xiaohua nods but suddenly asks again, "Ziyi also has this qualification, right?" "That's right, of course Ziyi has it." Ziming smiles sweetly, "But he will not fight with me. He came to the world a moment later than me. Moreover, since we are sensible, we have sworn together that we will not spoil the relationship between siblings because of this position. Young Master Xiao, don't worry. Even if I become the younger sister, I will definitely not fight with Ziyi." "And that's for the best." Xiaohua's heart suddenly relaxed, and he smiles and nods. "In this world, all benefits are not as important as family." "I know that young Master Xiao will say that." Ziming smiles again. "Actually, I have already told Ziyi that if he wants to be Elder Wu, he only needs to say a word to me. I will definitely not fight with him." "Very good." Xiaohua believes that Ziyi can say such words. "That's the reason why I came here." Ziming continues. "However, the fact that the soulfall lamp cannot be lit has always been a secret of our Hutu stronghold. Even many elders Wu and G-Man do not know about it. After all, this soulfall lamp is a precious treasure, and is usually enshrined in the ancestral hall. Only I knew that when I had to light this soulfall lamp, I begged Elder Wu to go to the ancestral hall to take it out. It was only then that I realized that something was wrong." "How is that possible?" Fairy Hongxia is puzzled. "From what you said, this soulfall lamp has been damaged for thousands of years. How can so many elders Wu and G-Man not know about it?" "Whether the ancestors know or not, I don't know." Ziming smiles mysteriously. "But the current elders Wu and G-Man definitely do not know about it. Otherwise, they would not have urged me to light up the soulfall lamp. As for the fact that the soulfall lamp has been damaged for thousands of years, it is recorded in the soulfall lamp. When I got it, I knew about it. But how it was damaged and who damaged it, there is no explanation. The fact that the soulfall lamp cannot be lit, I have kept it a secret for a long time. And now it has come to a point where I can no longer keep it a secret. Besides, if the other descendants know about this, I'm afraid there will be a dispute in our Hutu stronghold. Now that there is a great change in Meng Mountains, it is no different from a great disaster to our Hutu stronghold. So I have to be careful." Ziming finally got to the point. After hearing Ziming's words, Xiaohua suddenly understood the importance of the soulfall lamp. At the same time, his heart suddenly felt heavy. When Midnight gave him the storage bag that day, he didn't just give him qixin. but also the safety of the Huta stronghold. Karma in an instant, the space around Xiaohua trembled again. His nascent divinity, which was comprehending the hand of karma, felt as if it was struck by lightning. An indescribable mystery was transmitted into his mind. Ziming did not notice Xiaohua's abnormality and continued. In the early years, I also thought of all kinds of ways to light up the soulfall lamp. And I even paid a heavy price. Later, I had no choice but to ask Wu Ling for help. I visited Master Kuqin 3 times, hoping that he could help. However, I heard that Master still has 2 more chances to refine a soul treasure, so I took the risk to visit him. I didn't expect. Master Kuqin met Ziming's apologetic gaze and did not care. On his ugly face, the expression in his eyes was very calm. Of course, Master Ziming smiled again. I know that Master will consume your life essence because of this, and I have been trying my best to find a way to make up for it all these years. Coincidentally, when Ziyi went to Sky Patrol City, not only did he get to know a confidant like young Master Xiao, but he also brought back a spiritual medicine from the Dao sect. This spiritual medicine should be useful to Master. As he spoke, Ziming took out a jade box from the brocade bag at his waist and offered it with both hands. However, this is the last time Master will refine a soul treasure, and your life essence has been overdrawn. I don't know if this thing is still useful? Oh. Master Kuqin was surprised. He reached out and took the jade box. After opening it and looking at it, he asked, what kind of medicinal pill is this? It looks a little strange. Chapter 2859. This is the mysterious rejuvenation pill of the Dao sect. Ziyi only got 3 of them from the Sky Patrol City. I've already given 1 of them to Elder Wu. After Elder Wu took it, he regained his youth and looked even younger than me. Ziming smiled. I'll give this rejuvenation pill to you. Perhaps it can offset the loss of life essence from refining a spirit treasure. Ah, there's such a miraculous pill in this world? Master Kuqin was shocked. I wonder which immortal could refine such a miraculous pill. As he spoke, Master Kuqin's body flashed with an obscure fluctuation. The space within a few feet of him was slightly distorted. The rejuvenation pill in his hand flew into the air, and the pill's shadow flickered in and out of existence. After waiting for half a cup of tea's worth of time, a violent fluctuation rippled out from the surroundings of the rejuvenation pill. An indescribable hurricane swept through the entire cave. This hurricane was different from the usual wind. Once it was formed, it immediately rushed in all directions, seeping into the walls of the cave and blowing out of the cave. Master Kuqin gasped. After the hurricane, he looked at the traces of green lines on the mountain walls. His face was filled with surprise and disbelief. He whispered, "Not bad, this miraculous pill is actually filled with the power of thunder. This power of life can replenish the life essence I used to refine a spirit treasure. After taking this pill, I can refine a spirit treasure again." Good. Ziming clapped his hands and said, "If that's the case, I can rest assured." Thank you, Ziming. Although Master Kuqin's temperament was outstanding and he did not care about life and death, this was life and death after all. Since he could survive, he was happy. "This is what I'll do." Ziming beamed with joy and said, "Master, do you want to take it now or after repairing the lost soul lamp?" This. Grandmaster Kuqin pondered for a moment, then smiled. "This immortal pill contains the power of thunder. Although it can replenish life essence, the power of thunder is the opposite of my secret soul cultivation method. If this old man takes it now, I don't know how long it will take for the lamp to be repaired. It's not too late to take it after repairing the lost soul lamp. Grandmaster, please weigh the pros and cons yourself." Ziming naturally knew the severity of the situation and nodded with a smile. Putting away the rejuvenation pill, Grandmaster Kuqin raised her head again. Outside the cave stood a dozen or so soul warriors of different heights. It was impossible to see the expressions of these soul warriors in the dark. Grandmaster Kuqin ordered Qingming to come in. Smiling, Qingming explained the situation to Qingming. Finally, a smile appeared on Qingming's face. Bowing to Ziming and the others, he happily led his disciples away. The Dao sect's spells are indeed profound. Grandmaster Kuchin also relaxed when she saw that all the disciples had left in satisfaction. She was once again in a leisurely mood as she sighed and said, "The rise of the Tao sect is not without reason." "Hehe, master." Ziming's face lit up as he said. "Junior wanted to give Grandmaster the rejuvenation pill, but I didn't expect that Huta Great God would send this alchemist here as well. I guess Huta Great God must have seen Grandmaster's magnanimity and knew how much Grandmaster had done for Meng Mountains. That's why she sent this alchemist here to save Grandmaster's life." "Oh?" Grandmaster Kuchin was shocked. She hurriedly stood up from her seat and looked around. She walked towards Xiao Hua and bowed. "Immortal Master Xiao, please accept my bow." Who would have thought that after Grandmaster Kuchin bowed, Xiao Hua only looked at her indifferently. He did not move at all, as if he was being extremely rude. Xiao Hua Fairy Hong Xia was shocked. She looked at Xiao Hua's half-smiling face and hurriedly said to Grandmaster Kuchin, "Grandmaster, Xiao Hua probably had some enlightenment just now. Right now he is," but before Fairy Hong Xia could finish, Xiao Hua's eyes moved slightly. Countless stars flashed in his eyes. In this somewhat dark cave, it was extremely obvious. Grandmaster Kuchin was facing Xiao Hua at this moment. Hearing Fairy Hong Xia's reminder, she raised her head in surprise. When her gaze landed on Xiao Hua's eyes, she was even more shocked. She was stunned for a moment. Then, she shuddered and a trace of horror flashed in her eyes. At this moment, Xiao Hua seemed as if he had just woken up from a dream. He looked at Grandmaster Kuchin strangely. "Cough cough," Fairy Hong Xia hurriedly said. "Xiao Hua, Grandmaster Kuchin is thanking you." "Thanking me? Thanking me for what?" Xiao Hua scratched his head in confusion. "Hehe, young Master Xiao, about the matter of the rejuvenation pill." Ziming laughed. "This concubine has already given the rejuvenation pill that Zai obtained from young master to Grandmaster. Young Master Xiao has hidden it from Zai for a long time. However, this matter cannot be scrutinized. Zai has already secretly told this concubine. He suspects that you are that mysterious alchemy Grandmaster. You won't deny it, right?" "Rejuvenation pill? Alchemy Grandmaster?" Hearing this, Li Zongbao narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiao Hua thoughtfully. Hehe, if it was someone else, this little one would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. Xiao Hua laughed, however, facing Grandmaster Kuchin. Even if this little one was beaten to death, he would still admit it. At this moment, Grandmaster Kuchin seemed to have returned to normal. There was a faint smile on her face. She stood in front of Xiao Hua and patiently listened to his words. Although Grandmaster Kuchin's height was only 3/2 of Xiao Hua's height, Grandmaster Kuchin did not seem to be uneasy standing there. She was calm and composed. She truly had the bearing of a Grandmaster. "Grandmaster, please." How could Xiao Hua dare to let Grandmaster Kuchin bow to him again? He hurriedly raised his hand and asked Grandmaster Kuchin to turn around. Master Immortal Xiao, contrary to everyone's expectations, Xiao Hua had just opened his mouth when Grandmaster Kuchin bowed again and said, "Many thanks for Master Immortal's guidance." "Don't." Xiao Hua's face turned red. He hurriedly supported Grandmaster Kuchin and said, "Grandmaster, you are the Grandmaster. Please don't say that in front of this little one. You are killing this little one's life essence. Even if this little one takes another rejuvenation pill, it won't make up for it." Pfft, Ziming laughed. However, she also felt a little strange. When Grandmaster Kuchin thanked Xiao Hua and mentioned the effects of Xiao Hua's rejuvenation pill, she could understand why she called Xiao Hua Master Immortal. After all, this rejuvenation pill was very rare. She had never heard of a pill that could restore one's youth on Dawn Rain continent. From this point of view, calling Xiao Hua Master Immortal was nothing. However, the second time perhaps others didn't notice, but Ziming heard it clearly. Grandmaster Kuchin actually thanked Xiao Hua for his guidance. However, when Ziming thought about Xiao Hua's words just now, how could there be any guidance? Besides, Xiao Hua was an alchemist, not a tool refiner. How could there be any guidance? "Come, Master Immortal Xiao, please sit." Grandmaster Kuchin pulled Xiao Hua's hand and insisted that he sit next to her. In fact, in Grandmaster Kuchin's cave, there were only some large stones paved with animal skins. The tea set was also placed on the stone table. There was no order to it. Even if Xiaohua sat next to Grandmaster Keqin, he was only a little closer to her. However, Xiaohua didn't know how to sit. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Grandmaster, please don't call this little one Master Immortal. This little one can't afford it. Just call me Xiaohua." "Oh, Grandmaster, if you really want to call me that, you can call me Master Xiao." "Master Xiao? You're that Master Xiao?" Hearing Xiaohua's words, both Grandmaster Keqin and Ziming were stunned. They asked almost at the same time. But then the expressions on their faces changed. Ziming's face was full of disbelief. But there was also a sudden realization in this disbelief. As if she should have known this long ago. Grandmaster Keqin's eyes were shining. She looked at Xiaohua with great admiration. Then she bowed and said, "Keqin thanks Master Xiao for your great kindness to the people of the world. If Master Xiao has the ability of an immortal master, please save the people of Ming Mountain from the abyss of suffering." While speaking, Grandmaster Keqin actually wanted to kneel down and perform the great ceremony of millions of Ming Mountain people. Oh no, Xiaohua was so proud that he blurted out. His heart was filled with regret. Since Elder Wu of Bai and Stronghold knew that there were good seeds in the 3 kingdoms of cultivators, how could this Grandmaster Keqin, who cared about the natives, not know? But in the next moment, Xiaohua felt a bit ashamed. This Grandmaster Qin really didn't care about cultivators, soul warriors, or even swordsmen. She actually brought the people of the 3 kingdoms to thank Xiaohua, and then brought the millions of natives of Ming Mountains to thank him. Her breadth of mind was much greater than his. Therefore, Xiaohua hurriedly supported Grandmaster Keqin and said with a smile, "Grandmaster Keqin, since Grandmaster believes that I'm Master Xiao, then you must know that I don't like the customs. If you continue to be so long-winded, I won't care about the millions of Ming Mountain people anymore. Thank you Huta God, thank you Shibi God, thank you 12 gods of Ming Mountain." Ziming couldn't help but mutter, "Young Master Xiao is actually Master Xiao. The people of Ming Mountain can be saved." "Grandmaster, please sit down and talk." Xiaohua lowered his head and looked at Grandmaster Keqin. His neck was really sore, so he could only smile and say, "Please." Grandmaster Keqin invited Xiaohua to sit next to her, and then she carefully accompanied him. After all, Xiaohua was not only an alchemist who concocted the rejuvenation pill, but also a benefactor who could save millions of Ming Mountain people. How could Grandmaster Keqin dare to treat him poorly? Actually looking at Grandmaster Keqin and Ziming's eager eyes, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Regarding the millions of Ming Mountain people, I already have a plan, and I've already started to implement it in Bai Lu Stronghold. Great." Ziming and Grandmaster Keqin looked at each other, and their previous worries immediately disappeared. Ziming thought for a moment and understood. He smiled and said, "Young Master Xiao, the matter of Bai Lu Stronghold, is it related to young Master Xiao Mao?" "That's right." Xiaohua was also calm. "If it wasn't because I wanted to help Xiao Mao return to Shibi Stronghold and get what he deserved, I would have already told you about this matter." "Hee, young Master Xiao, since you want to help Xiao Mao, then all the more reason you should tell me about this matter." Ziming smiled and said, "As long as I can get Grandmaster Keqin's help and repair the Soulfall lamp, I'll be the next G-man. My Hotian Stronghold and Shibi Stronghold are on the same side. With my Hotian Stronghold supporting Xiao Mao, what worries do you have?" Chapter 2860. Indeed. After Xiaohua heard this, he nodded and said, "This is also something that I want to discuss with Ziming after rescuing Xiao Mao." "It's all right. Master Qin is here, and young Master Xiao is Zai's good friend. How can Ziming forget Daoist Zhao's contribution?" Ziming smiled and said, "Besides, in my opinion, Daoist Xiao seems to be more reliable than Xiao Mao, right?" Xiaohua thought for a while. Although he didn't trust Ziming too much, with Master Qin by his side, he really admired this master. Seeing Master Qin's smiling face, he reached out his hand and took out a storage bag. He handed it to Ziming and said, "This is the millet seed I got from a deserted island outside the sea. It was planted together with the rice used by the cultivators in the 3 kingdoms. If the rice seed can be used, then the millet seed can also be used. Good, Ziming's eyes flashed with surprise. He slowly reached out his hand and took it. When he opened the storage bag, he frowned and said, "Why, is there only so little? I remember. Ha, these are seeds. Ziming, they are not for you to eat." Xiaohua laughed. This Ziming was indeed a noble of Huta village. He probably wasn't familiar with farming. Ziming suddenly understood. He hit his own forehead and said with a smile, "I was wrong." Xiaohua was very familiar with this action. It was exactly the same as what Ziyi did that day. They are really twins. Xiaohua thought to himself. However, he also lowered his guard against Ziming. Then Xiaohua said, "I still have some of this millet seed. It should be enough for Hutu village and Shebi village. As for the other shaman villages, after the two villages planted this millet seed, they can slowly circulate it to Meng Mountains. Thank you, young Master Xiao." Ziming understood the meaning of this action. He was really happy. He bowed and said, "With this millet seed, even if I don't have the soul-falling lamp, I'm afraid I can still get the position of G-Man." "No need to thank me," Xiaohua waved his hand slightly. "You are Sister Zai, you can help Xiao Mao. Moreover, with your help, we can plant this millet seed in Meng Mountains. How can I not help you?" "Zai, actually, I should have known that young Master Xiao was Daoist Master Xiao." At this point, Ziming hesitated for a moment before continuing. That day, young Master gave Ziyi a storage pouch. Ziyi remembered young Master's instructions and had his subordinates distribute the seeds to the people of the secular world near the state of Shi. When he came back, he encountered the drought in Meng Mountains. Only then did he remember that you were a good seed of young Master. However, at that time, Zai only saw young Master as a close friend who had built his foundation. He never thought much about it. "Zai is really considerate." Xiaohua smiled. "Unfortunately, I didn't know that he was from Meng Mountain, otherwise, I might have been able to give him this seed that day." At this point, he watched Ziming carefully put away the storage bag and asked tentatively, "I still have something to ask Miss Ming." Ziming smiled and said, "Young Master Xiao, feel free to speak. What's going on with the Shibai village? Why did Xiao Mao, a pure god of Shibai bloodline, end up in the three kingdoms of cultivation?" Xiaohua had always been puzzled. Even Xiao Mao himself didn't know. This Ziming was also troubled. She thought for a moment and shook her head slightly. I really don't know. This is the internal affairs of the Shibai village. It should also involve the secret of the witch elder or G-Man. I've never been interested in it." "Master, do you know?" Xiaohua asked Master Enai-Qin. Master Enai-Qin also shook her head. "That's strange," Xiaohua said curiously. "Since no one knows, why would Yi, a swordsman, chase after Xiao Mao?" "Yi?" Ziming's eyes turned slightly. She understood a little and said, "This swordsman should be Ji-Man's husband, the Fu man of Shibai village. If he chased after Xiao Mao, it would definitely cause internal strife in the Shibai village. Sai, it's very simple. Yi was afraid that Xiao Mao would return to the Shibai village and affect his position. Yes, it would affect Ji-Man's position. But, can a swordsman be the Fu man of a witch village?" Xiaohua was puzzled. "Why not?" Ziming smiled and said, "Apart from the witch elder and Ji-Man, who must be the descendants of the great gods, the Fu man and Fu woman can be anyone else. Also, as far as I know, in the witch village under the jurisdiction of Huta village, there are many Taoist cultivators who practice soul spells and become Meng Mountain soul warriors. The sword realm is closer to Meng Mountains, so there are more swordsmen." Having said that, Ziming gave Grandmaster Qin a glance and continued, "Actually, without the bloodline of the 12 gods, it is impossible to cultivate the true soul spells of Meng Mountains. What they have cultivated is just the surface of the modified version. They can't understand the essence of the soul spells. As for true soul magics, they have to do with the bloodline, the soul, and the life essence." Master Enai-Qin knew what Ziming meant and said, "It's the same for refining soul tools. Could it be that with the bloodline of the 12 great gods, it's impossible to chant witchcraft incantations and connect the life essence with the soul tools, let alone the refining method? So that's how it is." Xiaohua understood that the refining of soul tools was related to the Green Seal script. When the refiners of Meng Mountains refined soul tools, they were just like Yin Tingyu of Misty Cloud's sect. When they used the Green Seal script, they would immediately age and die. It was better not to learn this kind of refining. From what Taoist Xiao said, it seems that in addition to alchemy, you also know some refining techniques. Master Enai-Chin said, "May I have the honor of asking Taoist Xiao to repair this soul-falling lamp with me?" Ah! Hearing Master Enai-Chin's invitation, not only was Xiaohua surprised, even Ziming was a little stunned. After all, Xiaohua was a cultivator. Although Master Enai-Chin didn't see the difference between cultivators and soul warriors, but the refining of soul tools was a secret of Meng Mountains. How could it be shown to others? However, Ziming soon realized something. Didn't he just say it? Without the bloodline of the 12 great gods, one couldn't control the true soul spells. Even if Xiaohua saw the refining method, he couldn't practice it, right? Even if he saw it, what could he do? It's my honor to be favored by Master Enai-Chin, and be able to observe Master Enai-Chin's refining technique. After Xiaohua was surprised, he beamed with joy. He knew the art of soul cultivation. Although this art of soul cultivation was just a minor detail in the eyes of Ziming and Master Enai-Chin, it was absolutely possible for him to gain some benefits from Master Enai-Chin's refining technique. Alright, Taoist Xiao, please go back and rest. 3 days later, I will ask Taoist Xiao to refine with me. Master Enai-Chin nodded and said, "Thank you, Master." Xiaohua stood up. When he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered something and asked casually, "Master Enai-Chin, can you repair or refine a sorcerer puppet?" Sorcerer puppet? Master Enai-Chin was stunned. Then a wry smile appeared on her face. I didn't expect Taoist Xiao to know the name of sorcerer puppet of Meng Mountains. However, this sorcerer puppet is refined with all the life of a sorcerer, and it can only be refined once in a sorcerer's life. Not to mention that my soul cultivation has not reached such a level, and I am not a sorcerer. The secret method of refining sorcerer puppet has long been lost in Meng Mountains. If you want to truly refine it, I'm afraid you can only find it in the depths of Meng Mountains, where those sorcerers have not been in the world for a long time, right? What about Meng Mountains? Xiaohua asked in a natural manner. I don't know. Master Enai-Chin laughed. Even the sorcerer and G-man of Huta village and Shibai village don't know. Then Master Enai-Chin stood up, waved her hand and said, even the sorcerer villages of the descendants of the 12 great gods don't know why. Xiaohua was puzzled. The vastness of this world is far beyond your imagination. The wonders of this world are also far beyond your imagination. So what if you know? So what if you don't know? When it's time for you to know, you'll know. When it's time for you to know, even if you want to know, you can't know. Master Enai-Chin said as she walked away, leaving Ziming and the other guests in the cave. Her voice once again traveled far in the darkness. When it's time for you to know, you'll know. When it's time for you to know, even if you want to know, you can't know. These words echoed in the valley for a long time. Master, you're right. Ziming clapped his hands and praised. You've enlightened me. Now that Master has left, what should we do? Xiaohua smiled. Are we supposed to meditate here? Why not? Ziming also smiled. When it's time for you to meditate, you can meditate anywhere. When it's time for you to meditate, even if you want to meditate, there's no place for you to meditate. Ha ha ha, Xiaohua laughed. This night was not wasted. Of course, before long, Qingming and the other disciples of Master Enai-Chin came one after another. They led the guests out and arranged for them to rest in a quiet room that was similar to a cave. Xiaohua naturally didn't stay with Fairy Hongxia. After sending off his disciple, Xiaohua took out the newly refined jade talismans and placed them all around the cave. As Xiaohua formed a hand seal, the simple capital sky star array was set up with a faint flicker of light. This jade talisman was indeed different from a spiritual talisman. Not only did it consume less spiritual power, but the tightness and concealment of the formation were also greatly increased. However, the capital star formation that was set up using a jade talisman absorbed too much spiritual energy from the heavens and the earth at the beginning. Fortunately, the mountain wind whistled in the valley, so these movements did not attract the attention of others. Very good. Xiao Hua released his Buddhist awareness and checked the capital star array. He was very satisfied. Although he had refined it in a hurry and only had a few dozen talismans, this array was comparable to the array activated by the 100 spiritual talismans that he had given to Wuxia. When he thought of Wuxia, her beautiful smile involuntarily appeared in his mind. Chapter 2861. Damn it, I'm afraid I won't be able to get rid of this guy in the future. Xiao Hua shook his head unhappily. It looked like he was trying his best to throw this beauty out of his mind. Sigh, forget it. Maybe I've been hit by some secret technique of Wuxia. Xiao Hua found an excuse for himself. When my magic power is strong enough, I'll naturally be able to break it. Then Xiao Hua looked around, took out a futon from his dimension, and sat down cross-legged. He was about to use the sun-shrouding art to nourish his divine sense, but just as he was about to activate the sun-shrouding art, Xiao Hua stopped. He clapped his hand and took out 3 bone boxes from his dimension. This bone box was given to Xiao Mao by Ji-Man in order to show his loyalty back in Bai and stronghold. Xiao Mao then gave it to Xiao Hua. According to Ji-Man, they hadn't given any treasures to Shibai village for a long time. These 3 bone boxes were the most precious of treasures. Of course, from Ji-Man's cautious attitude that day, Xiao Hua knew that the things inside were definitely not ordinary. If Xiao Hua hadn't heard Master Qin Qin and Ziming talking about how the millions of cultivators in Meng Mountains were all low-level soul warriors, he might not have remembered these useless treasures of Meng Mountains. Didn't Xiao Hua start cultivating the soul cultivation method that cultivators passed on to him in the language of Dao sect? Although Xiao Hua later learned the true meaning of cultivating the 9 heavens spirit origin from the jade slips of other soul cultivators, and his nascent divinity was now dancing with the little white dragon's soul, and his soul cultivation technique was gradually reaching the level of samadhi. But this soul cultivation technique was still a low-level, unorthodox technique. Perhaps I can get some benefits from these 3 treasures? Xiao Hua's heart was full of expectations. However, when Xiao Hua opened the 3 bone boxes and saw the 3 treasures with his own eyes, he still smiled bitterly even though he was somewhat prepared. Inside the first bone box was a palm-sized bone staff. It was flat and somewhat slender. There was a pure white luster on it, and it was very smooth to the touch. It was somewhat similar to the jade stones seen in the Dao sect. However, this bone staff looked just like a bone staff. There wasn't a trace of strange fluctuation. Even when Xiao Hua released his soul strands, he didn't see any reaction. This made Xiao Hua smack his lips. He almost thought of using this bone staff to coax Junior Wu Qing. The thing inside the second bone box could be seen at a glance. It was a bone snake. It was unknown what kind of method was used to condense the tiny bone particles that were smaller than a grain of corn together, to form a small snake that was as thick as a thumb and more than a foot long. This small snake was coiled inside the bone box. The small snake's head was slightly tilted up, and its eyes were blank. Although it was also formed by 2 even smaller bone particles, there was no divine light. It was no different from a corpse. Xiao Hua used his fingers to fiddle with the bone snake a few times. It was similarly ice-cold to the touch, and a faint chill came from this coldness. This chill penetrated Xiao Hua's skin, and even seeped into his soul. Hiss, this thing is powerful. Xiao Hua was happy. He knew that this bone snake had some background. However, just as this joy surged into his heart, he was suddenly startled. He thought of the day when Xiao Mao met Elder Wu of Bai and Stronghold. Elder Wu used a soul armament to create a statue of God Bai to test Xiao Mao's authenticity. That statue's ears. Were there not 2 jade snakes hanging from it? This item is not fated to be with this young master. Xiao Hua immediately put the bone snake into the bone box. He knew that this item was used by the descendant of God Bai, and he couldn't steal it. It was better to return it to Xiao Mao. The item in the 3rd bone box was even more puzzling to Xiao Hua. This was also a soul armament made from white bones. It was a ball about the size of a fist. Of course, rather than calling it a ball, it was more accurate to call it a skeleton. This skeleton wasn't a complete skeleton. Like the bone snake, it was made up of millions of tiny particles of bone. These particles of bone seemed to be condensed into a ball, but the skeleton was faintly discernible in and out of this ball of bone. This wasn't something that Xiaohua found strange. What Xiaohua found strange was that underneath the bone particles of the skeleton, there wasn't an empty space. Instead, there was another layer of bone particles. This layer of bone particles seemed to be the same as the outer layer of bone particles. Even below the second layer, there were still bone particles. When Xiaohua scanned it with his Buddhist sense, he realized that this soul armament had 18 layers. At the very core, the hole formed by the bone particles was only the size of a soybean. Good heavens! Soul cultivator items are really strange. Xiaohua picked up the bone ball from the bone box and tossed it up and down a few times. The bone ball was abnormally light, as if it didn't have any weight at all. His Buddhist sense only contained the bone particles, so there was no reaction. Even when Xiaohua released his soul strands, the bone ball didn't move like the previous soul armament toad. This made Xiaohua even more happy. That soul armament toad was quite useful when fighting against sword cultivators, but when it came into contact with a soul warrior, it immediately turned to ashes. It was clearly a low-level item that couldn't be any lower. But this item didn't have any reaction from the soul strands. Xiaohua knew that this was an extremely powerful item. What Xiaohua needed to do was to find out how to use this item. Should I ask Master Kuqin? Xiaohua's hand casually tossed the bone ball as he thought to himself. The bone particles of the bone ball gradually shook up and down in the air. A fist-sized skeleton gradually appeared. In the dark night, Xiaohua's appearance became even more terrifying. Let's talk about it after I repair the soul-falling lamp. Xiaohua made up his mind. Since this item belongs to this young master, then it belongs to this young master. Xiao Mao didn't say anything, so what can the others say? Could it be that Master Kuqin wants to take this treasure away? Oh, thinking of this, Xiaohua's face showed a puzzled expression. This Master Kuqin is also strange. Why did she suddenly call me Immortal Master? If it weren't for the fact that he called me Immortal Master, and made my heart beat wildly, how could I have casually mentioned Daoist Zhao's name? Later on, Master Kuqin's behavior was also somewhat strange. The words she said were very puzzling. She even asked me to observe her repairing the soul-falling lamp. This was truly an inconceivable matter. But in the end, she actually sang and left. It was quite disrespectful. Forget it, forget it. She is a master craftsman of Meng Mountain. Naturally, she has an extraordinary bearing. Why should I be so serious with her? In the future, I still have to ask her about how soul cultivators craft tools. I also have to ask her about the use of this bone ball. Smiling is the right way to go. In the end, Xiaohua stopped thinking. His eyes swept around, and his hands trembled. Damn it, this is really scary. How did it turn into a big skeleton? That's right. The bone ball in Xiaohua's hand had already turned into a skeleton bigger than a fist. Those empty eyes were looking at Xiaohua, and those white teeth were between Xiaohua's fingers. Let this young master take a look again. Xiaohua opened his transcendence vision. Sure enough, he could see a skeleton with his transcendence vision. What about this? Xiaohua took out the bone snake and the bone staff. In his transcendence vision, the bone snake naturally couldn't see anything. But the bone staff had a square shape, and there were traces of green light in it. Oh, green seal script? Xiaohua looked at the familiar green light, and his heart shook. He retrieved the bone snake and the bone ball, and threw the bone staff into the air. Hundreds of soul threads stretched out, wrapped around the bone staff, and dragged it toward the center of his eyebrows. This drag didn't matter, but Xiaohua immediately felt something different. This bone staff seemed to be extremely heavy, and his soul threads couldn't drag it at all. There's hope. Xiaohua wasn't surprised but happy. He immediately released more soul threads. However, in the soul threads, the bone staff only moved a little. It was like a mountain, majestic and unmoving. This is troublesome. Xiaohua's right hand's index finger and middle finger flicked up and down on his chin. He stared at the bone staff and thought for a moment. Then he stretched out his hand, placed the bone staff between his brows, and pulled the soul threads inside. After using a Herculean effort, Xiao Hua's forehead only felt the coldness of the bone staff. But the bone staff couldn't feel his burning heart, and simply ignored him. Damn it, this young master is going to waste time with you. Xiao Hua was a little angry. This young master has encountered so many magic tools, magic treasures, and even spirit tools. Which one of them wasn't obedient to this young master? This young master doesn't believe that he can't subdue you. As he spoke, Xiao Hua's mind spun rapidly. He really didn't have many soul techniques. Other than the cultivation method of the 9 heavens of spirit origin, these soul threads, and those green seal scripts, he didn't have any other soul techniques, right? This young master also has a primordial spirit that cultivates soul techniques. Xiao Hua slapped his forehead, and his mind entered the mysterious dark clouds. He saw that in the Qingshan heaven, the human figure that seemed to be formed from a water bubble was swaying. Countless soul strands were dancing all the time, and mysterious waves of light were overflowing in the entire Qingshan heaven. Beside the human figure, little white dragon's soul seemed to be a little bigger, but it still leaned against the human primordial spirit. Its body was also dancing with strange waves of light. These waves of light were different from the waves of light of Xiao Hua's primordial spirit. However, occasionally, when the waves of light collided with each other, it would affect each other's own waves of light. Thus, the waves of light emitted would also have extremely subtle changes. Not bad. Xiao Hua slightly sized up this height. It was already much faster than when he was in the ring of spirit origin. Could it be that this 9 heavens of spirit origin is easier to cultivate to the end? However, this was only Xiao Hua's guess. There were no records in the cultivation method. When Xiao Hua called out his primordial spirit, he couldn't help but be a little dazed. At this time, his primordial spirit appeared in the cave. Layers of green brilliance appeared around the primordial spirit, and the entire primordial spirit was wrapped up. And this green brilliance was precisely the appearance of a human figure. The entire primordial spirit was lively and lively, just like a small person. Chapter 2862. My goodness, isn't this the same as a nascent soul? Xiao Hua froze for a moment, then thought, if other primordial spirits are like this, then this young master will have nearly 10 nascent souls? Ha ha ha, wait until this young master's divine ability reaches the great success stage. If anyone dares to compete with this young master will swarm them and beat them to death. Xiao Hua laughed loudly, urging his primordial spirit to deal with the disobedient bone staff. The green primordial spirit's entire body shook, and countless soul strands extended from his body, completely covering the bone staff. Then, before Xiao Hua could think of anything else, a faint green light was emitted from the primordial spirit, and transmitted to the bone staff according to the rhythm Xiao Hua had seen in the clear spirit heaven. Following the flickering of this light, the bone staff began to tremble strangely. When the bone staff's trembling was the same rhythm as the green light, the green primordial spirit reached out, and placed his hand on the bone staff that was taller than him. The entire bone staff rapidly shrank, turning into a small cube, and fell into the green primordial spirit's hand. Then the soul strands around the green primordial spirit pulled on Xiao Hua's Dharma eye imprint, and with a whoosh, entered Xiao Hua's mind, following the soul strands, and disappeared into the mysterious dark clouds. Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. Truly dumbfounded. Yes, the green primordial spirit's subsequent actions weren't driven by him at all. It was only after the primordial spirit had done that he had some awareness and understood. Even the green primordial spirit's final return to the mysterious dark clouds wasn't his command at all. This is bad, this is bad. Seeing such a situation, how could Xiao Hua not know that things were already showing signs of going out of his control? There is life and death in the lightning tribulation. This primordial spirit, could it be that it has its own life? Xiao Hua temporarily couldn't think about the bone staff's function, and his back was sweating a little. Just now he was still thinking about having 10 primordial spirits to fight with him, but now that he really saw such signs, he was afraid instead. 10 primordial spirits with their own independent thoughts. That's 10 Xiao Huas. Who should he listen to? Who was the real Xiao Hua? Maybe one day, the 10 Xiao Huas would fight by themselves first. Damn it, little white dragon, You've caused this young master to be miserable. Thinking of the future consequences, especially when he thought of the primordial spirit splitting technique from Master Ming Ming and Li Xiaobai, had already begun to come true. Xiaohua couldn't help but howl. Hurry up and wake me up, Xiaohua thought as he urged his primordial spirit to rush into the mysterious dark clouds, wanting to find little white dragon's soul. However, just as his consciousness entered the Ring of Heavens, he saw that in the center of the Ring of Heavens, there was an emerald green ball of light emitting a faint brilliance. That brilliance was formed from tiny green seal characters, and it was like an extremely pure emerald that illuminated the entire Ring of Heavens. Xiaohua, Xiaohua, Xiaohua couldn't care less about the strange bone staff. Xiaohua's mind was about to rush into clear spirit sky. Unfortunately, Xiaohua's mind had only just brushed past the green brilliance when the light exploded with a loud bang. The sound was like a thunderclap, and even more so like a landslide, shaking the entire clear spirit sky. What emerged from the light were dozens of huge green seal characters. These green seal characters were so vast in the clear spirit sky that they practically covered the entire clear spirit sky. Moreover, the green seal characters rotated from time to time, twisting from time to time, disintegrating from time to time, and gathering from time to time. Waves of desolate aura. Waves of indescribable mystery 9 were born from these green seal characters. Motherfucker, at this point, Xiaohua naturally couldn't go to the pure spirit heaven anymore. He hurriedly urged his soul strands and prepared to touch these green seal characters like before. At this moment, at the place where the green seal characters exploded, where there was still a ball of green light, Xiaohua's green primordial spirit appeared strangely. As soon as this primordial spirit appeared, the soul strands around its body waved and pointed at the green seal characters dancing in the sky. Just like before, every time the soul strands touched a green seal character, the green seal character would emit a green light and slowly shrink. Along with the soul strands, it entered. Yes, it entered the body of the green primordial spirit. However, as the green seal characters entered the green primordial spirit, Xiaohua's mind also had a strange feeling. Moreover, the green seal characters' information also appeared in his mind at this time. The Ring of Aura sky was truly like a changing heaven and earth. The green seal characters' flickering was like a heavenly phenomenon that could move mountains and overturn seas. The green seal characters' dancing was like the transformation of the sea into mulberry fields. It was as if all the changes in the world were appearing in the Ring of Aura sky, and the center of all these changes was the green primordial spirit. Looking at the green primordial spirit dancing in the Ring of Aura sky, Xiaohua looked pensive. Why didn't the bone staff change when this primordial spirit sent it into the Ring of Aura sky? Instead, this bone staff can only change when the mind enters it. Why did this primordial spirit sense the green seal characters in the mind when it received them? Why did this primordial spirit not come out from clear spirit sky until the mind entered the Ring of Aura sky? As Xiaohua pondered, he gradually came to a conclusion. All kinds of signs indicated that the master of this mysterious dark cloud was still his mind. This green primordial spirit still couldn't control the entire mysterious dark cloud. Perhaps, the other primordial spirits are also like this. Xiaohua's heart settled. No matter what, there has to be a distinction between the primary and the secondary. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a complete mess? As Xiaohua pondered, the green light in the Ring of Aura sky gradually disappeared. The green seal characters that filled the sky also gradually disappeared. In the end, they turned into 50 that revolved around the green primordial spirit. However, these green seal characters didn't seep into the primordial spirit. Xiaohua's mind was calm. He urged the 50 soul strands in the Ring of Aura sky to slowly touch the 50 green seal characters. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The green seal characters suddenly exploded again, and swarmed into the green primordial spirit's body. In an instant, an enormous amount of information rushed into Xiaohua's mind. The Shaman Codex. This information entered Xiaohua's mind. Xiaohua was suddenly shocked. This is, however, when Xiaohua tried to find out more about the Sorcerer Codex, he realized that he only knew that it was a Sorcerer Codex. Apart from the green seal script recorded in the Sorcerer Codex, He was still clueless about everything else. This information was related to the 50 green seal characters. Moreover, the content of this information was somewhat different from the green seal characters that Xiaohua had previously obtained. Or rather, it was completely incompatible with Xiaohua's current understanding. If Xiaohua wanted to obtain something from this information, he was afraid that he would have to spend some effort to comprehend it. Damn it, what is this? If Xiaohua's mind could smile bitterly, he would definitely force out a smile. He had obviously obtained a treasure, but the content was something that he couldn't understand. Wasn't this the legendary, entering a treasure mountain and returning empty-handed? What else can I do? This wasn't the first time Xiaohua had encountered this kind of situation. After all, his cultivation was still too shallow. Even though he had the strength of a nascent soul realm cultivator, in front of the mysteries of heaven and earth, he was inferior to an insignificant ant. The primordial spirit disappeared. That shaman codex also disappeared. When Xiaohua regained his senses, the shaman codex that had caused the astronomical changes in the ring of aura sky had already disappeared. I'm afraid that the primordial spirit was sent into the clear spirit heaven again. Xiaohua somewhat understood. This shaman codex could only be opened in the soul. Moreover, it could only be opened layer by layer. Without his mind, the primordial spirit clone was powerless. Sure enough, when Xiaohua's mind rushed into the clear spirit heaven, the shaman codex once again exploded. Another 50 green seal characters appeared from the shaman codex. Moreover, when the shaman codex revealed the astronomical changes, the entire clear spirit heaven was directly expanded by 2 times. Unfortunately, this kind of opportunity seemed to only belong to Xiaohua. Little White Dragon's soul seemed to have not heard this at all, and was not affected in the slightest. Moreover, when the 50 green seal characters entered the body of the primordial spirit, a layer of green clothing appeared outside the primordial spirit. The style was actually somewhat similar to the clothing worn by millions of Meng Mountain soul warriors. Moreover, the 100 green seal characters even turned into dots of fluorescent light outside the primordial spirit's body. Following the fluctuations of the primordial spirit's green light, the faint brilliance was like twinkling starlight. This shaman codex gave birth to 50 green seal characters in both the Sky Ring and Sky Clear Spirit Heaven. Among them, I already knew some of the green seal characters, but I don't know most of them. In other words, when the cultivation of the 9 heavens of spirit origin is completed, this shaman codex can give birth to 450 green seal characters. Perhaps the soul cultivator's green seal characters are only 450. My goodness, these 450 green seal characters can be separated. Moreover, 2, 3, 4 and so on can be combined into new green seal characters. In other words, all soul cultivator's soul techniques can be produced from these 450 green seal characters. What a soul warrior needs to do is to find the method to combine different green seal characters into a soul warrior. Xiaohua seemed to have understood. This kind of strange cultivation method is really unimaginable for us Dao sect cultivators. It seems like this shaman codex is really the most precious treasure of Meng Mountain. Thinking of this, Xiaohua felt a little embarrassed. If I got it from someone else, I would naturally be secretly happy. But this is Xiao Mao's. He didn't know the importance of this shaman codex and gave it to me, but I can't pretend that I don't know. I'll ask Grandmaster Pu Qin about it later. If it doesn't work, I'll just return it to Xiao Mao. After getting the shaman codex, Xiaohua naturally had the thought of dragging the bone ball into the mysterious dark cloud. But this thought only flashed through his mind for a moment. After all, the soul was very important. Just now, Xiaohua was also a little impulsive, so he ruthlessly threw the shaman codex into the mysterious dark cloud. Fortunately, this was just the shaman codex, and only the green seal characters were recorded in it. Also, the usage of these green seal characters was not a real soul tool. However, these green seal characters were able to cause a great disturbance in both the Sky Ring and Sky Clear Spirit Heaven. If this bone ball was really a powerful soul tool, wouldn't it destroy his 9 heavens of spirit origin? If that happened, perhaps Xiaohua wouldn't even have the chance to cry. Chapter 2863. Xiao Hua's back broke out in a cold sweat at the thought of this. His arrogant guts shrunk in an instant. He finally understood why those cultivators with high cultivation were so cowardly. Han Zhu, for example, knew that there were many things he needed in the Buddhist ruins. But even after cultivating for so long, he still didn't dare to go there. That was because he knew that the Buddhist ruins were filled with danger. Without absolute confidence, he absolutely couldn't set foot in there. If it was him, he would have already barged in and turned into a skeleton by now. He didn't even know which soul weapon he'd become. Immediately after, Xiao Hua stopped being distracted and sat cross-legged on the praying mat. As he circulated the sun-shrouding technique, he concentrated on comprehending the 100 or so green seal text. Strands of obscure comprehension were born from the green seal text from time to time, and a feeling of scratching his ears and cheeks involuntarily arose in his heart. Xiao Hua was meditating. The two Dao sect cultivators on his left were also meditating. Li Zongbao held the slaughtering immortal whip in his hand. The slaughtering immortal whip in his hand flashed with a faint golden light. This golden light was like a bamboo shoot after the rain, slowly rising. Every time it grew taller, the golden light would grow a little brighter. Li Zongbao's face would also darken a few times. But even though the golden light of the slaughtering immortal whip was faint, the traces of blood within it could be seen clearly. It was the blood that changed according to Li Zongbao's expression. Sometimes it was dense, sometimes it was sparse, and sometimes it was dense. It looked a little strange. As for Fairy Hongxia, the phoenix token flew to her forehead and resonated with the phoenix mark between her eyebrows. Rings of 5-colored brilliance were produced from the phoenix token and landed on the mark. The mark gradually danced and slowly penetrated Fairy Hongxia's body. After her entire body was bathed in the 5-colored brilliance, the 5-colored brilliance went straight into the phoenix mark and into the phoenix token. The brilliance of the phoenix token shone even brighter, and the phoenix mark became even clearer. Even Fairy Hongxia's jade-like skin became even more lustrous. The 3 Dao sect cultivators were bitterly cultivating, but the 2 soul cultivators were not. Ziming was lazily sitting on a bone bed with the soulfall lamp placed in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on the pitch-black soulfall lamp, as if her gaze was being sucked in by it. Ziming's beautiful eyebrows were tightly knitted together, like ice that hadn't melted in tens of thousands of years. Ziming wasn't happy about the fact that the soulfall lamp was about to be repaired. Unlike Ziming, Master Qin was also sitting under a huge, withered tree. The bright moonlight shone through the dark clouds and into the valley. It also shone through the branches of the tree, and fell on Master Qin's face. Master Qin's expression was very strange. It was as if she had lost her soul, but also as if she was both happy and worried. She was even a little worried. After the time it took to eat a meal, the moonlight left Master Qin's face. Master Qin raised her head slightly, and her pair of dazed eyes gradually regained their luster and even clarity. Sigh, she let out a long sigh. Perhaps the moon rises and sets, day goes and night comes, and the tides rise and fall like this then. Master Qin seemed to inadvertently look at a place in the valley. She paused for a moment, then stood up and left the huge tree. The place Master Qin was looking at was pitch black. Other than the night wind, there was no other movement. For a cultivator, 3 days was like the passing of a white horse. Before Xiao Hua could scratch his head, he sensed that someone was calling him from outside the cave. Sigh, when will this young master be able to go into seclusion for a few years in peace? Xiao Hua had no choice but to come out of his meditation. Although the green seal text was still being comprehended by his primordial spirit, that wonderful feeling was gone. Thinking about the process of something that was incomparably pleasant, but only let you participate in the result, no matter who it was, their heart would be filled with resentment. Xiao Hua withdrew the capital star array and walked out of the cave. Qingming was standing respectfully at the entrance of the cave. He was not as cold as he was when Xiao Hua saw him that day. Young Master Xiao. Qingming followed Ziming's greeting and said, Master has already gone to the soul refining cave. Young Master, please follow. Then he looked up at the time. In about an hour, Master will start crafting soul tools. Oh. Xiaohua tilted his head and smiled. Master crafting soul tools. Needs to pick an auspicious day. That's not the case. Qingming smiled apologetically. At noon, soul warriors are full of vitality and hundreds of ghosts will avoid them. It is the best time for us soul warriors to craft soul tools. Thank you for your advice. Xiaohua was somewhat enlightened. His feet didn't stop to rest as he followed Qingming along the valley. After walking for a while, Qingming smiled and said, Young Master Xiao should know how to fly, right? Let's fly over. Don't let Master wait anxiously. Oh, soul cultivators can also fly? Xiaohua was slightly taken aback. That's right. Ever since Xiaohua saw a soul cultivator riding a soul beast and fighting against a swordsman outside of Million Meng Mountains, he had seen many soul cultivators inside Million Meng Mountains. However, even Ji-Man, the candidate of Huta stronghold, Ziming, had never flown before. He had relied on his soul beast to fly. If Taoist cultivators can fly, we soul warriors of Meng Mountains can naturally fly too. Qingming smiled and took out a soul tool. He chanted an incantation. The soul tool flashed with a green light and wrapped around Qingming. His body immediately flew forward like a feather. His body was as agile as the flying technique of ordinary cultivators. Xiaohua's face was a little hot. He also circulated his magic power and followed behind Qingming. A faint green light flashed under Qingming's feet. It was more imposing than Xiaohua's light. I'm sorry, Xiaohua said embarrassedly. Since I came to Million Meng Mountains, I've seen many soul cultivators, but I've never seen them fly. They all ride soul beasts, so not flying doesn't mean you can't fly. Qingming smiled and said, My Meng Mountain soul technique is a little different from your Taoist sex magic. Your Taoist sex cultivation technique. As long as you cultivate to a certain stage, you will naturally use a magic. But for my Meng Mountain soul cultivators, cultivation technique is cultivation technique, soul technique is soul technique, they have nothing to do with each other. Oh, I understand now. Xiaohua immediately understood. No wonder he didn't know any soul technique, even though he practiced the 9 heavens of spirit origin to the stage of pure spirit heaven. But it seems, the cultivation techniques I cultivate are also like this, right? Actually what Grandmaster said is not completely correct. Xiaohua replied with a smile. Some cultivation techniques come with magic, but many cultivation techniques don't have the corresponding magic. Oh, I understand. Qingming didn't intend to ask further and nodded slightly. Not long after, under Qingming's lead, Xiaohua came to a hillside where the sun was rising. In front of the hillside, Grandmaster Qin and Ziming were already waiting. There were also a few other disciples of Grandmaster Qin. Li Zongbao and Fairy Hongxia were not beside them. Taoist Xiao. At this moment, Grandmaster Qin had already regained her calmness. When she saw Xiaohua flying over, she raised her head and called out. Young Master Xiao, Ziming also had a smile on his face. It was a far cry from the miserable look he had a few days ago. I'm late, please forgive me. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said with a smile. Since you're here, you're not late. Grandmaster Qin said with a smile. This old one has refined swords with a few blacksmiths from Sword Domain. This is the first time I'm refining a soul tool with a Taoist sect alchemist. If there's any mistake, please advise me. I don't dare. Xiaohua hurriedly waved his hand. Grandmaster is a grandmaster. This little one is just observing, not saying a single word. No, Taoist Xiao is wrong. Master Qin shook her head. The crafting of the soul tool this time is a little different. If there are any mistakes, Taoist Xiao must take action. Moreover, during the refining process, this old man will also have some questions to discuss with Taoist Master Xiao. Oh. Xiaohua somewhat understood why Master and Qin wanted him to participate in the restoration of the lost soul lamp. I'll leave this matter to young Master Xiao, Ziming hurriedly said. If you need my help, I'll definitely do my best. Xiaohua hurriedly agreed. Then he asked, did Grandmaster not inform my 2 Dao friends? Haha, other than weapon refinement masters, no one else is allowed to enter this soul refining cave. It's useless for them to come. Master Qin said with a smile. Rather than that, it's better to let them cultivate in the cave. At this point, Master Qin Qin hesitated for a moment. She waved her hand to have Qin Ming and the other disciples leave. After thinking for a moment, she said, "Also, that Li Zongbao's cultivation is a little off. His soul and bloodline are a little strange. I'm afraid the magic treasure he's using is causing a backlash. The backlash from the magic treasure is already beyond what he can control. If we don't correct it soon, it'll cause a disaster." "Does Grandmaster have a better plan?" Xiaohua was shocked. Then he asked Master Qin Qin with great admiration. "This old man has a few ideas. This is also one of the reasons why this old man invited Taoist Xiao to refine the soul tool." Master Qin Qin smiled. However, the root of his problem is his magic treasure. Although this old man's idea can treat the symptoms, it can't treat the root of the problem. It's best to start with young Master Li's magic treasure. Hearing this, Xiaohua was convinced by Master Qin Qin's magnanimity. Not wanting to hide anything, he smiled. "I won't hide it from Grandmaster Qin Qin. The spirit treasure Senior Li is talking about was made by this old man. However, because the spirit treasure is new, it hasn't been cultivated yet. Moreover, he used the spirit treasure again and again to fight with swordsmen and soul warriors. That's why his soul was damaged. This was also because he had no choice." "Taoist Xiao?" Master Qin Qin's mouth opened wide in astonishment. Spirit treasure? Ziming was also dumbfounded. Young Master Xiao can actually refine spirit treasures? "Haha, I'm sorry. Xiaohua said with a smile. "I just happened to come across it by chance, and was lucky enough to successfully refine it. Oh, actually, it can't be considered a successful refinement. It's more like a successful repair." Chapter 2864. Following that, Xiaohua roughly explained the reason for the slaughter immortal whip. Although Xiaohua downplayed it and emphasized the restoration, but even so, Master Enaiqin's expression became much more respectful. Nonsense, an alchemist who could refine the rejuvenation pill, an alchemist who could refine spirit tools, both identities were worthy of the respect of ordinary people. Not to mention that these two identities fell on the same person. In fact, Master Qin Qin almost had to address Xiaohua as senior. This is really put a great God's arrangement. Master Enaiqin sighed. Her eyes seemed to have a kind of determination. At this crucial moment, she sent Taoist Xiao to this old one, and this old one also asked Taoist Xiao to restore the fallen soul lamp under Hutu Great God's arrangement. If this fallen soul lamp cannot be restored, this old one will not have the face to see Hutu Great God again. Young Master Xiao, Yu Ziming said a few words, did not know what to say, finally pursed her lips and said, "Can you give this concubine a few more surprises?" "Of course, let's wait and see." Xiaohua blinked his eyes and said very proudly. "He," Ziming pursed her lips and said, "This concubine only now knows why Zai is so respected by young Master Xiao. Even this concubine feels familiar with young Master Xiao at first sight." He, as long as it is not at first sight," Xiaohua said very casually, but just as he said those two words, he felt that it was inappropriate. Not to mention Master Enaiqin, just based on Ziming's identity as Zai's twin sister, he could not say those words out loud. But obviously, Ziming had heard it, although her face did not turn red, but the corner of her mouth revealed a smile without a doubt. He, Master, when will we enter the soul refining cave?" Xiaohua hurriedly changed the topic. "In a moment." Master Enaiqin raised her head and looked at the scorching sun that was about to reach the top of their heads, and said with some expectation, "This matter will trouble Master." Ziming clapped her hands, took out the fallen soul lamp from the brocade bag, and handed it to Master Enaiqin. This old one had 40% confidence before, now with Taoist Zhao's help, this old one feels that all of a sudden, this old one feels that it is 90%. Master Huaqin extended her hand to take it, and held on to the middle of the fallen soul lamp, and said, "A blacksmith who can repair spirit weapons, repairing spirit treasures shouldn't be a problem." "Don't, Grandmaster," Xiaohua anxiously waved his hands. Xiao Kuku has never seen a spirit cultivator refine equipment before, and doesn't even know what a spirit treasure is. How can you repair a spirit treasure? I'm just observing, just observing. There's a saying in the Tao sect. All arts return to origin. Master Enai said with a smile. Actually, isn't artifact refinement also called all artifacts return to origin? It didn't matter if it was a spirit item, a sword item, or a soul item. In the end, they all had the same power, and had the same use. They didn't have to be different. It's just that the refining process is different and the materials used are different. Good, Xiaohua agreed. It's just as the master said. Just now, when I saw Master Qingming's flying technique, I felt that it was true. It doesn't matter if a Taoist uses magic power to fly, a swordsman uses a flying sword to fly, or a soul warrior uses soul force to fly. As long as one can fly, the result will be the same. With that said, Xiaohua smiled and asked Ziming, Ziming, can you and Ziyi fly? Why do you always use soul beasts? Hee, Ziming smiled and muttered something. Then a faint green light flashed. White light and wisps of white mist appeared from Ziming's feet. Ziming's body flew gracefully from the mountain slope into the air. After circling in the air for a while, he landed back down. It's just as young Master Xiao said. Flying as a soul cultivator consumes soul power. Although this soul power can last for a long time, it's not easy to replenish. It can't be compared to the magic power of a cultivator. Ziming explained with a smile. Moreover, every soul cultivator has a soul beast. Since soul beasts can fly, why do we have to fly ourselves? Indeed, Xiaohua understood. It's just like the people of the secular world. They can walk with their legs, they can also walk with their carriages. Since they have carriages, why do they have to walk with their own legs? Right, Ziming smiled. He pointed his finger at the sky and said, Young Master Xiao, you shouldn't ask any more questions. Please enter the cave. Good. Xiaohua laughed. He cupped his hands and said, Master Enai, please lead the way. Please, Master Enai didn't stand on ceremony. She took the lead and walked towards a small cave on the mountain slope. Thank you for your trouble. Ziming cupped her hands towards Xiaohua. It was as if she wanted to entrust the soul lamp to Xiaohua and not Master Enai. Xiaohua slightly nodded. With a smile on his face, he also turned around and followed Master Enai. Only Ziming was left standing under the sun. She let the blazing heat shine on her face. It was as if only this light could dispel the worries in her heart. Her eyes were fixed on Xiaohua's back. She was waiting for Xiaohua's back to disappear into the cave. Xiaohua was actually calm. This matter of repairing the soul lamp was not his business. He was just a passerby. Seeing Master Enai walk to the entrance of the cave, she slightly turned her head. Seeing that Xiaohua had already followed, she patted her hand. She also took out a brocade bag. From inside, she took out a dark green bamboo joint. She chanted an indescribable syllable. Along with this syllable, a strange fluctuation appeared around Master Enai. Then Master Enai pointed her finger at the top of the bamboo joint. Gulyalu, a bubbling sound came from the bamboo joint. The bamboo joint began to melt. An emerald green finger bone appeared in the air. Master Enai used her hand to support the finger bone, and slowly extended it forward. When it touched the entrance of the cave, a rumbling sound came from the entrance. Xiaohua only saw a flash in front of his eyes. A pitch-black stone door appeared in the originally empty cave entrance. Not only was the stone door pitch-black, but there were also some undulating veins. These veins were sometimes large and sometimes small, covering the entire stone door. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes. He could clearly see that these veins were made up of many talismans that looked like bones. Each talisman seemed to be in a trance, as if it could absorb a person's gaze. Xiaohua didn't dare to look anymore. He looked at Master Enai again. Master Enai's hand gesture didn't change. The finger bone was sent to the front of the stone door. There was a deep hole the size of a thumb where many symbols intersected. When the finger bone fell into the deep hole suddenly closed. Then, like a person's eyeball, it slightly rotated. Soon after, it opened. A ray of azure light shot out from the eye, covering Master Enai and Xiaohua. Beep, beep, beep. Master Kuqin was chanting some strange spells again. Green lights that looked like seal scripts fell down and rushed into the blue light. Swoosh, when the light touched the green light, it immediately shrank. Zalala, the pitch-black door suddenly cracked open. The two sides of the crack were like the teeth of a beast. I've made a fool of myself. Master and I-Chin turned around and said humbly. This old man's soul-refining cave was passed down from the previous generation. There are some secrets inside. Compared to the Dao Sex magic, this soul formation technique is still a bit lacking. In Taoist Zhao's eyes. I've made a fool of myself. Not at all, not at all. Xiaohua looked around but didn't use his Buddhist sense. He smiled and said, this soul formation technique is very mysterious in my eyes. How can I say it's made a fool of myself? Or it could be said that each has their own strengths. Please, Master and I-Chin walked into the cave. At this time, the finger bone also floated to his side. The inside of the cave was very dark. One couldn't see clearly with the naked eye. Master and I-Chin grabbed the finger bone and flung it. The entire cave suddenly brightened and was covered by a gentle green light. See, Xiaohua followed behind Master and I-Chin. Suddenly he felt a green light pierce into his eyes. That green light was like a ghost baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. He couldn't help but shiver in his heart. Then, when he looked around and saw the situation of the soul-refining cave clearly, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This soul-refining cave was very big. It was as if the entire cave was hollowed out. However, the four walls of the cave weren't stone walls. Instead, they were dark green. Even the area under Xiaohua's feet was dark green. He couldn't tell where was up and where was down. The place where Xiaohua came in was already closed. It was also flat and no traces could be seen. Moreover, this dark green was so deep. Wherever his gaze fell, he couldn't feel the boundary. It was as if it was infinitely big. Xiaohua didn't dare to release his Buddhist sense. However, when his gaze swept past, that dark green revealed a strange aura. It was as if Xiaohua's gaze could stir up waves in the dark green. The moment those waves rose, one after another malevolent ghost head and one after another naked men and women would be revealed inside. So much so that, as Xiaohua's gaze shifted, one after another shocking pictures would appear in front of Xiaohua's eyes. Soul-refining cave. Soul-refining cave. It really lives up to its reputation. Xiaohua slightly turned around and looked at the situation of the entire soul-refining cave. A strange look appeared in his eyes as he sighed. This soul formation can see directly into the heart. It's indeed not something my Dao sex formation can compare to. At this moment, Grandmaster Kuchin had already turned around. His eyes were glowing as he looked at Xiaohua with great interest. When Xiaohua finished sighing, he asked in a low voice, Daoist Xiao, you don't need to hide it from me. Have you practiced a soul cultivation technique before? Oh, why do you say that? Xiaohua smiled. He didn't admit it and asked back. I won't hide it from Daoist. Grandmaster Kuchin laughed. This old one is a weapon refiner from Meng Mountain. It's precisely because I deal with soul tools that I'm very sensitive to soul cultivation techniques. There's no need to talk about Meng Mountain soul warriors. As long as it's a cultivator or a swordsman who has dabbled in soul cultivation, this old one will be able to find the flaw with a sweep of his soul sense. However, this old one clearly sensed traces of soul strands on Daoist Zhao's body. However, under my soul sense, I can't find any traces of Daoist Xiao cultivating soul sense. Soul sense? Xiaohua asked curiously. Is it something similar to the divine sense of my Dao sex cultivators? That's right. Grandmaster Kuchin nodded. Swordsman and cultivator have divine sense. Devil cultivators have devil sense. Us soul warriors naturally have soul sense as well. However, soul sense is different from divine sense and devil sense. It's not obtained through cultivation techniques. Instead, it's tempered and tempered. Chapter 2865. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiaohua nodded. This humble one is indeed ignorant. This soul technique is related to soul strands. If you haven't practiced a soul cultivation technique, I'm afraid you can't use it. Master Kuchin said with a smile. This old man has a record of this. I wonder if Reverend is interested? Alas, Xiaohua saw that Grandmaster Kuqin insisted on asking him whether or not he had practiced a soul cultivation technique. He could only sigh and say, "This little one has always been curious. Otherwise, I wouldn't have practiced both the Tao of refining and the Tao of alchemy. Until now, I am still only in the foundation establishment realm." This humble one learned about the 9 heavens of Lingyuan in Ming Mountain a few years ago. However, I heard from Master and Ziming that the cultivation technique transcribed by those cultivators was inferior. Thus, this humble one didn't dare to say much. "Oh, so that's how it is." Master Kuqin nodded. "I'm afraid the cultivation technique Reverend obtained has already deviated greatly." Perhaps. Xiaohua didn't comment. He didn't like to talk about such laughable things. "Can you tell this old man about your soul cultivation technique?" However, Master Kuqin didn't let him go and asked. This Xiaohua hesitated slightly. He didn't understand what Master Kuqin meant. He didn't know if Master Kuqin asked because he needed to rely on his soul cultivation technique to repair the soul-falling lamp. However, when he thought about his low-level soul cultivation technique, he didn't mind. He patted his hand and took out the jade slip from his space and handed it to Master Kuqin. However, Xiaohua didn't go into detail about the true cultivation of his soul cultivation technique. Master Kuqin took the jade slip and glanced at it briefly before returning it to Xiaohua. He said with a mocking smile, "The cultivators of your Dao sect are really good at making things up. According to the 3 souls and 6 spirits, my soul cultivation realm is divided into 4 stages: human, earth, heaven, and saint. Among them, Aura Ring and Clear Spirit Heaven are called Human Stage. Bright Ruah Heaven and Abundant Reality Heaven are called Earth Stage. Condensing Meridian Heaven and Understanding Heart Heaven are called Heaven Stage. Soul Forming Heaven, Yuanshu Heaven, and Silent Void Heaven are called Saint Stage." Furthermore, he even compared my soul cultivation level with your Dao Sect's cultivation level. He said that the mortal stage was equivalent to the Dao Sect's Qi refinement stage. The Earth stage was equivalent to the Dao Sect's foundation establishment stage and golden core stage. The Heaven stage was equivalent to the nascent soul stage and spirit severing stage. And the Sage stage was equivalent to the Dao Sect's unification stage, tribulation stage, and Mahayana stage. All of this was purely false. It was nothing more than a division created by those cultivators based on their own understanding. How could the spirit of Ming Mountains, Yuan Jiutian, cultivate like this? How can you get the true essence of soul cultivation with such a specious method? Isn't that the case? Xiaohua was stunned and hurriedly asked. Then what should it be? Unfortunately, Grandmaster Qin Qin did not answer Xiaohua's question. Instead, she changed the topic and asked, "I wonder if Daoist Xiao would like to obtain the true cultivation method of 9 Heavens Spirit from Ming Mountain?" Oh, this time, it was Xiaohua's turn to be surprised. Puzzled, he looked down at Grandmaster Kuqin. At this moment, Grandmaster Kuqin was standing in front of Xiaohua like a child. Looking at this soul cultivator who resembled Gao Zhuang, Xiaohua did not know what Grandmaster Kuqin was thinking. Just now, Grandmaster Kuqin had used the tempering of his soul consciousness as a lure. Now Grandmaster Kuqin denied the soul cultivation method in the jade slip, and used the true cultivation method of 9 Heavens Spirit as a bait. This was not something a master craftsman of Ming Mountain should do. Grandmaster Kuqin met Xiaohua's surprise gaze without any fear. With a calm expression she said, "Daoist Xiao, please don't be surprised. This old man just has a matter to ask Grandmaster for help. That's why I'm using it as a price to ask for Grandmaster's help." "What matter?" Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, "If it's simple, Grandmaster doesn't need to pay any price. This little one can do it for you." Let's not talk about it now." Grandmaster Kuqin waved her hand and said, "Daoist Xiao, you can think about it again. It won't be too late to answer me after the soul-setting lamp is restored." All right, Xiaohua was somewhat baffled. Grandmaster Kuqin hadn't even said what the matter was, so how could he think about it? However, since Grandmaster Kuqin didn't say anything, she probably wouldn't say anything even if Xiaohua asked again. However, at this moment, Xiaohua thought of another matter and asked, Oh right, Li Zongbao, is the method to repair the soul-setting lamp included in it? That's not included in it. Grandmaster Kuqin clapped her hands and took out the soul-setting lamp. She said with a smile, when the soul-setting lamp is repaired, Daoist Xiao will be able to see it. All right. Xiao Hua nodded. Grandmaster is so straightforward. This little one can agree even if I don't think about it. Hee. Grandmaster Kuqin didn't say anything at this moment. Oh right, Grandmaster, this little one has another question. Xiao Hua asked again. May I ask? Daoist Xiao is too polite. Grandmaster Kuqin said with a smile. If Daoist Xiao has any questions, you can ask me at any time. This old man will tell you everything he knows. Does Grandmaster know about the Shaman Codex? Xiao Hua asked cautiously, carefully looking at Grandmaster Kuqin's expression. Of course I know. Grandmaster Kuqin's expression was normal. There wasn't the slightest bit of shock, as if the Shaman Codex was an ordinary thing. Phew, Xiao Hua immediately let out a sigh of relief. However, this old man doesn't know which Shaman Codex Daoist Xiao is asking about. Grandmaster Kuqin asked again. How many Shaman Codices are there? Xiao Hua didn't understand. The Shaman Codex of Meng Mountain is just a general name. It's a book that records the matters of Meng Mountain, cultivation methods, and spirit warriors. Almost every shaman village has a shaman codex. Grandmaster Kuqin answered. Bailu village has a shaman codex. Shibailu village also has a shaman codex. However, it's obvious that the two shaman codices can't be compared. The biggest function of the shaman codex is to pass it down. The shaman elder of Bailu village has a shaman codex, so he can be called a shaman elder. If the shaman codex of Bailu village disappeared, then Bailu village would cease to exist. If you want to destroy Bailu village, you just have to take away the shaman codex of Bailu village? Xiao Hua was stunned. What this old man means is disappearing from this world. Grandmaster Kuqin said. As long as the people of this shaman village still have a trace of bloodline, this shaman codex will never disappear. Even if this shaman village declines and disappears, its shaman codex will still exist in Meng Mountain until the people of this shaman village completely disappear. Of course, if someone finds this lost shaman codex, they can also rebuild the shaman village. Oh, I see. Xiao Hua finally understood. So this shaman codex of his was really not a rare object. Reverend, do you have any other questions? Grandmaster Kuqin asked with a smile. Yes. Hearing this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, but when I look at the cultivation method of 9 heavens of spirit origin, I have no idea what it is. Ha. Grandmaster Kuqin laughed. The cultivation method of a spirit warrior is different from that of a cultivator. If Reverend doesn't have any doubts, then it would be strange. When Reverend obtains this old man's cultivation method of 9 heavens of spirit origin, you will naturally understand a lot. Oh, but let me tell you in advance. This old man's cultivation method of 9 heavens of spirit origin only has 6 heavens of spirit soul, but it doesn't have 3 heavens of spirit. How many green seal characters are there in total? Xiao Hua ignored Grandmaster Kuqin's explanation and suddenly asked. 365. Grandmaster Kuqin answered very casually, but then his body shook violently. He raised his head to look at the smiling Xiao Hua and asked with an incredulous tone, Xiao. Reverend Xiao, could it be that you have already learned the green seal characters? I have. Xiao Hua's answer was powerful and resonant, but I was baffled by it and didn't know what it was. Although he said that, he was secretly thinking, that's not right. The Shaman Codex should have counted 450. Why is it that Grandmaster Kuqin only has 365? Oh, I see. Grandmaster Kuqin looked at Xiao Hua's unusually young face and nodded. My Ming Mountain's green seal characters inherited from the ancient times, but now they have been completely annihilated in the dust of time. Of course, the green seal characters also exist outside of Ming Mountain, so it is normal for Reverend to have seen them. Actually, I still want to ask. Xiao Hua really wanted to know the origin of the green seal characters, so he asked again. What is the secret of the green seal characters? It seems To have the ability to understand the world. Could it be that every Green Seal character has its own origin? Facing Xiaohua's question, Grandmaster Kuqin's reaction was very strange, as if he didn't come to the soul-refining cave to repair the soul-losing lamp, but specifically to teach Xiaohua. He patiently answered, "This old man doesn't know the origin of the Green Seal characters. This secret of Meng Mountain is probably directly related to the 12 great gods, and only the ancient Yi clan in the depths of Meng Mountain would know about it, right? However, according to this old man's knowledge, if you can completely master the Green Seal characters, then you will have the ability to understand the world." The ancient Yi clan in Meng Mountain. Xiaohua was stunned again. This world was really mysterious. He used to think that Meng Mountain was mysterious and unfathomable, but now that he came into contact with soul cultivators, he realized that this was not the only mystery of Meng Mountain. The mystery was still inside. This time, Grandmaster Kuqin did not answer the question about the ancient remnant races. Perhaps he did not know either. He continued, "The crafting techniques of Meng Mountain are completely related to the Green Seal script." Hearing this, Xiaohua suddenly realized that Grandmaster Kuqin was waiting for him here. However, a few days ago, when Xiaohua heard that Grandmaster Kuqin could only refine 3 soul treasures in his lifetime, he already had some understanding. He didn't hide it and nodded. "Grandmaster, when you said that refining is related to life essence, this little one understands a little, back then." Then, Xiaohua briefly explained the matter of Misty Cloud's sex Yuntingyu. "Oh, so in Meng country, there are also Taoist disciples who inherit the Green Seal characters of Meng Mountain? This old man really didn't expect this." Grandmaster Kuqin was really surprised. This method of using the Green Seal characters is somewhat similar to this old man's refining techniques, but it also consumes life essence. Alas, what a pity! If this technique could be used, the drought in Meng Mountain could be alleviated. But I'm afraid no one would be willing to exchange their lifespan for the Green Seal characters. Xiaohua shook his head slightly. "This old man can," Grandmaster Kuqin said indifferently. "But this old man doesn't know how. All this old man knows is the Green Seal characters of refining." Chapter 2866. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He understood the Green Seal text, but how could he teach it to this master craftsman who cherished Meng Mountain? It seems like he still doesn't know how to display the Green Seal text. Let's listen a bit more. Xiaohua thought to himself. If Taoist has already seen Sect Master Yin use the Green Seal text, then you should already know my refining technique. Master Kuqin waved her hand, and the soul-falling lamp immediately flew into the air. "Yes, I understand. As long as you sing the Green Seal text, the Green Seal text will produce the ability to refine tools, refining soul tools like my Tao Sect's magic." Xiaohua nodded. "Taoist is still wrong," Master Kuqin said bluntly. "Singing the Green Seal text is something only the descendants of the 12 great gods can do with the power of the great gods' bloodline. Us spirit scholars need to use soul strands to make soul sounds, and use the power of the soul to chant the Green Seal text. As for Sect Master Yin, because he doesn't have any soul power, he can't make sounds, so he took the unorthodox path and used his body to make sounds. This kind of Green Seal text can't be used to its full potential, and it also consumes a lot of life essence. I can refine tools 3 times, but he can't even do it once." Oh. Xiaohua was extremely excited. This was a secret technique he had been searching for a long time. However, he still suppressed his joy and said with a smile, "I want to see Master's divine technique." "I'm ashamed," Master Kuqin shook her head. "I haven't reached the divine technique realm that Taoist mentioned. Using soul power to make sounds is also borrowing the power of my bloodline." "The power of bloodline?" Xiaohua's eyes turned slightly, and he said with a smile, "What's the matter with the power of bloodline?" Xiaohua used blood essence to refine spirit tools, and he also used blood essence to control magic treasures. Even the cultivation method of the demon realm included the cultivation of bloodline. He really wanted to know how Master Kuqin explained it. Taoist is a cultivator of the Tao sect. I'm afraid you only know how to use the power of bloodline, but you don't know the origin of the power of bloodline, Master Kuqin said with a smile. Just like Taoist, said Ziming. You only know that soul power can fly. Why do you need to know how it can fly? Indeed, Xiaohua nodded. He was talking about her, but there were many things that he didn't understand. In fact, the bloodline power is way too mysterious, and I haven't read any Magus books about it. I've only read a lot of books about it and added my own understanding of it, Master Kuqin said. She pointed her finger, and a drop of blood fell into the air. Then, Master Kuqin's body started to vibrate. The vibrations caused the air to vibrate and spread throughout the entire soul refining cave. The blue light around the soul refining cave also started to vibrate. It was as if Xiaohua and Master Kuqin were standing on a sea with monstrous waves, surrounded by the sound of waves. As the sound became louder and louder, a voice that Xiaohua was familiar with spread out from the soul refining cave. Countless tiny green seal characters appeared in the surroundings and fell towards the blood drop in front of Master Kuqin. I understand. At this moment, Xiaohua suddenly realized why Grandmaster Kuqin wanted to refine weapons in this crafting cave, and what was going on with the azure surrounding his crafting cave. The green seal characters on the blood drop gathered into a big green seal character and fell into the blood drop. With a pung sound, the blood drop suddenly turned into a small human figure. Taoist, please take a look. If an ordinary person was injured, who knows how much of this small blood drop would fall? Master Kuqin's face was a bit pale. She pointed her finger and said, but under the stimulation of the green seal characters, this blood drop can produce a powerful bloodline power. Yes, Xiaohua nodded. Actually, this is only the most basic power of the bloodline. Master Kuqin was really resting, she explained. In my opinion, the greatest use of the bloodline power is inheritance. Inheritance? Xiaohua stared blankly and didn't understand. Whether we are cultivators, soul warriors, or swordsmen, whether we are the descendants of the 12 gods, or the descendants of the sword ancestor and the Tao ancestor, we are all humans. This bloodline is something that has existed since we were born into this world. Within this bloodline is the inheritance of the information from the ancient people. With this bloodline we are humans, not beasts, not grains of rice and millet. From this bloodline, humans can be divided into cultivators and soul warriors. From this bloodline, Ziming can recite the witchcraft incantation of the Huta Great God, but ordinary soul warriors like us can't. From this bloodline, cultivators can refine their own magic treasures. From this bloodline, swordsmen can refine their own spirit swords, and even fuse with their bodies with the sword. Moreover, according to what I know, the demon world also has blood refining techniques. From this bloodline, demons can cultivate into demon lords. Even soul weapons, spirit weapons, and so on need the power of this bloodline. Ordinary blood sacrifices are the same. They all extract the power of the bloodline and accumulate it to reach a level that ordinary people can't reach. I also don't remember if it was passed down from ancient times or recorded somewhere, but if I, a soul warrior, cultivate the power of this bloodline to the extreme, I can become a god through the bloodline, Master Kuqin said with almost longing. Just by relying on the bloodline, I can see through life and death and live forever between heaven and earth. See, Xiaohua didn't dare to believe. Is this possible? Actually, although the power of the bloodline is strong, it is not the most mysterious thing in the world. Master Kuqin didn't answer him, but continued. The soul is the most mysterious thing in the world. If the bloodline is the inheritance of the human race, then the soul is the inheritance of the individual, or in other words, the most fundamental difference between everyone. Xiaohua heard Master Kuqin change the topic and frowned slightly, not understanding why. But he heard Master Kuqin say again, this world is boundless. From mortals to cultivators, then to the immortal world, and so on, human cultivation seems to have no end. But within the soul, doesn't the 9 heavens of spirit origin cover all cultivation? This old man bluntly said that the 9 heavens of spirit origin is connected to heaven and earth. As long as you completely understand the 9 heavens of spirit origin, you can definitely reach the supreme realm. Xiaohua heard the last part and couldn't help but smile, asking, Master also cultivates the 9 heavens of spirit origin, right? I wonder what level of heaven you have cultivated to now. Taoist Master Xiao, you still don't understand what this old man means. Master Kuqin said with a smile. How can the current 9 heavens of spirit origin be considered a true comprehension? This old man is not talented, but he has already cultivated to the full reality realm. But this kind of cultivation is simply a passing observation. It is simply impossible to truly understand the meaning of the 9 heavens of spirit origin. Then, how can you understand it? Is there such a cultivation method? Xiaohua asked curiously. How can there be such a cultivation method? Master Kuqin said with a smile. Just by a sentence recorded in the cultivation method. You want to control heaven and earth? You want to be free and unfettered in the 9 heavens? That is absolutely impossible. All the cultivation methods in this world, or rather, as long as there is a cultivation method, it is impossible to reach such a realm. Oh, what do you mean? Xiaohua was even more shocked. Doesn't the cultivation of the Tao sect rely on cultivation methods? How can one cultivate without a cultivation method? Cultivation is only to obtain power, or use power to make up for one's realm. This is the purpose of your Tao sect. Master Kuqin said patiently. My soul cultivation method is also the same. However, the good thing is that my soul cultivation method is a cultivation method, and my soul technique is a soul technique. You only need to comprehend the 9 heavens of spirit origin, and you will also have a profound soul power, tempering your soul to a solid state. But this kind of tempering will never reach the height of the 12 great gods. Moreover, Taoist Xiao, do you think there is a soul technique in this world that can let people cultivate to the level of a great god? This Xiaohua instantly thought of his own backtrack time, and thought of the light escape method. All cultivation methods are in the same direction, and in the end, there is an end. Master Kuqin pointed at the little blood man in the air. The blood man seemed to have gained intelligence, and rushed into the soul-falling lamp floating in the air. Wang, the soul-falling lamp immediately appeared to be a blood-red color, and an indescribable vibration came from the soul-falling lamp, rushing to the surroundings of the soul-refining cave. And with the help of the power of the bloodline and the power of the soul, one can make this cultivation method go in the right direction, allowing one's cultivation to have no end. Master Kuqin finally finished speaking, and suddenly his body began to tremble rapidly. Waves of green light came out from his body, and waves of fluctuations were also emitted, echoing the vibration of the soul-falling lamp, rushing to the 4 walls. Woo-woo-woo sounds like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves came out from the surroundings of the soul-refining cave. The azure light set off violent fluctuations, and hundreds of thousands of tiny green seal characters rushed out from the azure light, fluttering around the entire soul-refining cave. Xiaohua looked at the sky full of green seal characters, and his eyebrows slightly wrinkled. Master Kuqin's words seemed to be a bit extreme, putting the soul cultivation method above all sword cultivation and Taoist cultivation methods, and saying that the power of the bloodline and the mystery of the soul were the only powers in the world. But thinking about it carefully, Xiaohua felt that Master Kuqin's words were quite reasonable. After all, many inexplicable cultivation methods could be explained from these 2 aspects. In particular, Master Kuqin said that all cultivation methods were in the same direction, and in the end, there would be an end. This really made Xiaohua feel enlightened. Yes, if such a cultivation method could be casually obtained by anyone, wouldn't they immediately have a meteoric rise? Wouldn't they be able to cultivate to become a Buddha without any effort? Wouldn't they be able to immediately ascend to the immortal world? All cultivation methods were created by people, and they were all related to that person's realm. Could it be that the so-called great deity could write a cultivation method that would allow someone to cultivate to become a great deity in an instant? If that was the case, then wouldn't this great deity be too worthless? Were the heavens full of great deities? Of course, Master Kuqin's words were enlightening, but Xiaohua didn't completely believe it. Although the power of the bloodline and the mystery of the soul were very important, if there were only these 2 in this world, then where did the 3,000 great Taoists come from? How would Xiaohua explain the karmic hand in his space? How would he explain the heavenly Tao starry sky? Chapter 2867. Thinking of this, Xiaohua was once again puzzled. Why is this soul cultivator weapon refining grandmaster wasting so much time talking to me? Does she want to accept me as her disciple? Does she want to teach me the soul cultivator's weapon refining techniques? Since when was my character so lovable? Of course, Xiaohua was only thinking about it. He didn't believe that Grandmaster Kachin, who he had just met, would accept him as her disciple. Moreover, Xiaohua himself wouldn't agree, right? Helpless, Xiaohua looked at Grandmaster Kachin again. Wu. With a loud roar, Grandmaster Kachin's figure floated into the air. It seemed that the lecture just now had released all the suppressed emotions in her heart. However, her angry roar seemed insignificant in the soul-refining cave, where the green seal characters were chanting. However, after this roar, huge tentacles appeared around Grandmaster Kachin. These were the soul strands that Grandmaster Kachin had refined for hundreds of years. The soul strands nimbly tapped on the green seal characters that filled the sky as if they were plucking the strings of a zither. Every time they tapped on a character, a strange sound would be emitted. After dozens and hundreds of green seal characters were tapped on, the green seal characters formed a green seal character that was 1 zhang long and emitted an even louder sound. This sound was ear-piercing and extremely strange. It seemed as if it had existed since the beginning of time, but also as if it had never existed. The source of the sound was the soul-falling lamp. As the sound faded, a thick layer of black fog appeared above the soul-falling lamp. As soon as the black fog appeared, it emitted a strange sound that was extremely similar to the sound that had disappeared before. A sharp, all-like piercing pain emerged from Xiaohua's mind, directly approaching his soul. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed, and hurriedly urged his soul strands, blocking the area around him. Xiaohua's soul strands were originally vibrating, but this sound affected the vibrations of the soul strands, and forced them to change. Naturally, following the change in the vibration of the soul strands, the sound and the piercing pain did indeed gradually lessen. However, the vibration passed through the soul strands and into Xiaohua's soul. The mysterious dark clouds once again emitted a rumbling sound as they underwent some slight changes. This mysterious vibration even penetrated into Xiaohua's space. Xiaohua's soul strands stretched out, and he immediately sensed Grandmaster Qin Qin's abnormality. If his soul strands were a gurgling stream, Grandmaster Qin Qin's soul strands would be a boundless ocean. However, Grandmaster Qin Qin didn't notice Xiaohua's change. The tentacles formed by the soul strands kept poking at different green seal scripts. Then more green seal scripts appeared. Different sounds shook the entire soul refining cave. As the green seal scripts entered the soul refining lamp, it gradually came alive. A black hound formed by countless ghosts appeared from the soul refining lamp. A dark and suffocating aura filled the entire soul refining cave. This black dog looked like an ordinary black dog. It had a body, 4 legs, and even a tail with a ghostly face. However, the most eye-catching thing about this black dog was that it had 3 heads, and each head had a pair of dark red eyes. The dark red light was extremely gloomy and bewitching, as if it could see through everything in the world. Hiss! A feeling of extreme danger rose from the bottom of Xiaohua's heart. It was as if he had no power to resist this strange black dog. After waiting for a moment, Xiaohua frowned again. Although this black dog appeared, and its dark and irresistible aura filled the air, the black dog only appeared and didn't move at all. Oh, I see. Xiaohua dodged the dark red light of the 3-headed black dog and looked at it. He saw that in the middle of the black dog's chest, between its 2 front legs, there was a fist-sized gap missing. When Xiaohua took a closer look, he found that the black dog's head, ears and mouth were all chipped. They weren't complete. It should be because these places are missing that the soul refining lamp can't be lit. Xiaohua understood. But how do I fix it? While he was thinking, Master Qin Qin slapped her hand again, and took out a dozen different bones from her bag. These bones were of different sizes, and some even had strange shapes. These bones were also strange. As soon as they were taken out from the bag, they turned into balls of black gas under the sound of green seal script. Terrifying ghostly heads were born from these balls of black gas, But these ghostly heads were extremely unstable. They roared and writhed in the black gas, as if they were struggling with all their might. Meng Mountain soul artifacts are made from living souls. As long as there are enough living souls, they can connect to the 9 underworlds. Grandmaster Qin Qin finally spoke again, but her voice was old and powerless. When Xiaohua looked at the Grandmaster again, there was an unconcealable sense of age on the Grandmaster's face. If you want to repair a soul armament, you naturally have to use living souls. The Taoist school uses a cauldron and a spirit fire when crafting, but we soul cultivators use the world as the cauldron, life essence as the fire, and souls as the supplement. As she spoke, Master Qin Qin's body began to tremble again. The soul strands that looked like tentacles began to dance in the soul refining cave. Another green light was emitted from the soul strands, and then rushed towards the walls of the cave. Naturally, as the green seal script came out, Master Qin Qin's body began to age rapidly. Countless wrinkles appeared on her face. After the green seal script came out, it quickly landed on the black gas. The black gas suddenly stopped moving and became still. It didn't take long for it to turn into thin strands of black gas. Then, under the entanglement of Master Qin Qin's soul strands, the black gas landed on the black Cerberus body. Every time a strand of black gas landed on the black Cerberus, a ripple would appear around the black Cerberus. The ripple would then land on the walls of the cavern, and cause the cavern to roar again. For the next couple of days, Grandmaster Qin Qin had been patiently injecting the black threads into Blackhound's body. Seeing the black energies gradually becoming complete, Xiaohua finally understood. So this is how the soul treasures of millions of Meng Mountains are repaired. This is really out of... I can't say that it's out of my expectations. Isn't the fixing of a magical treasure also fixing the formation and the body of the treasure? Since it's a spirit treasure, then the spirit soul inside must be repaired. 10,000 weapons return to origin. Grandmaster Hua Qin is right. In the past 10 days or so, Master Qin Qin didn't say a word to Xiaohua. She seemed to be concentrating on repairing the dog, and didn't dare to be distracted in the slightest. In the end, there was only a small flaw in the dog's ear. Master Qin Qin let out a long sigh. She turned to Xiaohua and said, "Jinren Xiao, I'm sorry you had to see this. It seems to cultivators, repairing soul tools is similar to repairing clothes in the mortal world, right? If Grandmaster really thinks so, then it's not impossible." Xiaohua laughed and said, "Left and right are all mended. Magic tools are like that, spirit treasures are like that, clothes are also like that." "Ha. Taoist Master Zhao's words have enlightened me." Master Qin Qin laughed heartily. She pointed at the black dog and said, "Spiritual Master Xiao has been watching from the side for a long time. He already knows how to repair this spirit treasure. If he knows how to refine this spirit treasure, and how to control the soul strands, I'm afraid he can also repair this fallen soul lamp?" Xiaohua nodded and said without hiding anything, "Indeed. This black dog is the core spirit of this spirit treasure. It's like the array of a magic tool, or the spirit treasure's spirit treasure. It knows how to cultivate the array and the spirit treasure's spirit treasure. It only needs to be repaired slightly to succeed. This is not a difficult task for me. But the problem is how to refine this spirit treasure, and how to refine this spirit treasure. I don't know anything about it. The array of the Taoist sect has always been difficult for me to understand." Master Qin Qin finally began to teach Xiaohua again. A few talismans and a few spirit stones can produce unparalleled power. Although it can't be considered profound, it still has its own uniqueness. Since Spiritual Master Xiao can refine spirit treasures, you must also be proficient in refining spirit treasures. Perhaps? Xiaohua laughed and said, "This is Meng Mountain's secret. I don't dare to be so bold as to covet it. Actually, I'm sure Taoist Master Xiao has already figured out the problem of young Master Li suffering from the backlash of the spirit artifact when I was repairing the spirit artifact. We can start from repairing the spirit artifact's artifact spirit, and let young Master Li nurture the spirit artifact. He can grow along with the artifact spirit and gradually eliminate the hidden danger of the backlash." Grandmaster Qin Qin said after thinking for a while. Indeed, Xiaohua nodded. Grandmaster had already given us some hints before you repaired the soul lamp, so this humble one has been thinking about this problem. However, Xiaohua can't use the green seal script. I'm afraid it won't be easy to repair the artifact spirit. Of course, Great Master Qin Qin took a deep breath and looked at Xiaohua solemnly. Daoist Xiao, as I said before, I have the true method of tempering soul strands, the method of creating soul remembrance, and even the true cultivation method of the 9 heavens of spirit origin. I can give all of this to Daoist Xiao, but I beg you to do something for me. Hee, Grandmaster, you can speak frankly about this matter. Xiaohua laughed and said. Even if you don't have these things, this humble one can still do something for Grandmaster that doesn't go against his conscience. Hee, Great Master Qin Qin also smiled. However, later on, I found out that Daoist Xiao is Daoist Xiao, and that you can bring benefits to Meng Mountain. Later on, when I found out that Daoist Xiao is also a Grandmaster artifact refiner, I changed my mind. Even if Daoist Xiao doesn't do this, my artifact refiner, yes, according to the Dao sect, it's a Dao orthodoxy, I still have to hand it over to Daoist Xiao. Whether Daoist Xiao comprehends it yourself or helps me find a successor, it's all up to Daoist Xiao. Ah? Xiaohua was baffled. He pointed at his nose and said, Grandmaster, could it be, you wanted me to help you find a successor? Indeed. Great Master Qin Qin said without hiding anything. Chapter 2868. That's strange. Xiaohua shook his head vigorously. This is really not in line with the heavenly Dao. You have so many disciples here, but why don't you find a suitable master? Besides, can't you find a fated person to pass down your orthodoxy to? Or can't you ask your disciples to find one? Also, don't you have the rejuvenation pill? After you finish repairing the soul-losing lamp, you can take it yourself. Perhaps you can even regain your youth and take in 8 or 10 more disciples. Why did you find me, a cultivator of Daoist sect? If not, you can also find Zimming? These questions, I won't answer you, Master Qin Qin said with a smile. I have my reasons for giving it to you. And this old man also believes in you. You are a benevolent cultivator. Even if you can't find a suitable disciple for this old man's orthodoxy, you will certainly be able to use this old man's refining skills to refine a suitable soul weapon. This soul weapon will not do evil at will. This old man can rest in peace in the arms of Huta God. Xiaohua was a little dazed by this pie that fell from the sky. He had been coveting the soul cultivation technique for a long time, and he wanted to come to Mount Meng to get some. But before he could do anything, Master Qin Qin had offered it to him with both hands, and even the artifact refining technique of soul cultivation. He really couldn't believe that such a joyous event had happened. I'll think about it again. Xiaohua actually declined. Daoist Xiao, you don't have time to think about it. Master Qin Qin pointed at the black dog and said, This soul is almost fully repaired, and now is the most critical moment. Without Daoist, I only have a 40% chance of success. But with Daoist, I have a 90% chance. In half an incense stick's worth of time, I will finish repairing the soul item, and I will need Daoist's help at that time. If I succeed, that will be good. But if I fail, I will return to the arms of Huta Great God. Of course, this has nothing to do with Daoist. Whether I succeed or not, Daoist will not be harmed. Therefore, Daoist needs to give me an answer now. Can't I give it to other disciples? Xiaohua asked in the end. Of course not. Master Qin Qin said with a smile. If I could, I wouldn't have said so much to Daoist. All right, Xiaohua nodded. This is an extremely good thing for little Ku. How could little Ku not agree? However, I must say that Xiaohua will take a look at it yourself. But I can't guarantee that you can find a disciple to pass down this orthodoxy. Good, seeing that Xiaohua had agreed, Master Qin Qin was overjoyed. She pulled out the brocade pouch and handed it to Xiaohua. Everything I have is here. I've written some superficial things on a jade slip. Daoist Xiao, please take a look when you have the time. You'll understand my intentions. All right, I'll try my best to fulfill your wish. Xiaohua nimbly took the brocade pouch and placed it in his bosom. Then he bowed and said, "In addition, although Grandmaster didn't impart his skills in name, he did impart his skills. Please accept this humble one's respect." He all right. Master Qin did not hold back and accepted Xiaohua's bow. "Reverend, you have a rejuvenation pill that can replenish your life essence. In the future, you won't have to worry about your life essence being depleted when you use green seal runes to refine soul artifacts. My crafting skills in the soul refining cave will definitely flourish in Reverend's hands. Even in the embrace of Hu to God, I will be happy." "I hope so," Xiaohua stood up and said with a smile. He had already said that he must take a look at the soul refining technique in this brocade pouch. Master Qin heaved a sigh of relief after explaining the matter. Just as she was about to speak, Xiaohua seemed to have thought of something and spoke first. "Oh right, I still have a question to ask Master. It's just that I didn't dare to trust Master before, so I didn't say it. Now, I have to ask." "Oh. Enlightened Master, please speak." Master Qin was not surprised and nodded. Xiaohua clapped his hand and took out the oil lamp that he accidentally obtained in the secret auction in Weeping Moon City. He respectfully handed it to Master Qin and said, "Master, this is something that I accidentally obtained. If I'm not mistaken, the cultivator who traded with me should be a nascent soul cultivator." He said, "This item is probably something from the 10,000 demon realm. A soul warrior summoned a soul demon from the 10,000 demon realm and brought it here." "Soul demon? 10,000 demon realm?" Master Qin took the oil lamp and coughed twice. Her bent body seemed to be even weaker. After she carefully looked at it, she nodded slightly and said, "Reverend is right. This item is not a soul artifact of my Meng Mountain, nor is it a magical item of Sword Realm or Dao Sect. It should be something from the 10,000 demon realm." Then she hesitated for a moment and said with an uncertain tone, "As for what it is, I'm not sure. However, in the past, when this old man was unable to master it, he had seen something similar to this item. This item is called a spirit treasure in my Meng Mountain. It's quite similar to your Dao Sect's spirit treasure." Oh. Xiaohua's eyes lit up. He thought that this item was a soul artifact, but he didn't expect it to be a spirit treasure. If that was the case, then he had taken advantage of it. "Haha, Reverend, this spirit treasure is different from your Dao Sect's spirit treasure." Master Qin laughed. "If it's a real spirit treasure, how could a nascent soul cultivator be willing to trade it?" "That's true." Xiaohua scratched his head, embarrassed. "The reason why I call it a spirit treasure is because it's rare, and it's formed from the spirit of a demon beast. That's why it's worthy of the word spirit." Master Qin explained again. "As for the soul warrior who can summon a soul demon, if I'm not mistaken, it should be the descendant of the great god Dijiang of Meng Mountain. They have the ability to tear space and summon a soul demon from the 10,000 demon realm. Of course, it could also be the work of the ancient races in my Meng Mountain that I mentioned earlier. This spirit treasure should be formed from the spirit of the soul demon. This thing, how do I control it?" Xiaohua took the oil lamp from Master Qin and asked impatiently. "A spirit treasure is a real spirit treasure in the hands of a soul demon. If it's in the hands of a soul warrior of Meng Mountain, he can only control it with his soul sense and a special soul technique. However, its power is incomparable to the spirit treasure of your Dao Sect." Master Qin shook her head slightly. "Instead of focusing on this thing, Reverend Xiaohua should refine more spirit treasures." "Yes, I've learned something." Xiaohua felt a little regretful. He put away the oil lamp and said, "Actually, I took this thing out for 2 reasons. First, I want to know its origin. Second, we're both lamps. I want to see if this thing can be used to repair the soul-falling lamp." Reverend Xiaohua is very thoughtful. Master Qin nodded, looked at Black Hound, and said, "Reverend Xiao, when you refine spirit treasures, do you control the power of bloodline?" Xiaohua knew that the power of bloodline mentioned by Master Qin was the demon realm's blood fusion technique. He opened his mouth, and a wisp of spirit fire flew out. As Xiaohua performed the fire-controlling art, the spirit fire turned into a tiny fire snake that shuttled back and forth in the air. This is the demon realm's artifact refining technique? Master Qin was indeed knowledgeable. She immediately saw through it and cried out in astonishment, "Reverend Xiao, you know so much." "Haha, I'm just lucky." Xiao Hua smiled. "Alas, no wonder." Master Qin Qin sighed. "That day, I was very confused. I didn't know how the Dao Sect's artifact refining technique controlled the power of bloodline. If Reverend Xiao knew the Demon Realm's artifact refining technique, this would be easy." Then Master Qin Qin opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence, saying, "Reverend Xiao, please do it." All right, Xiao Hua did not hold back. He controlled the spirit fire and tempered the blood essence bit by bit. Gradually, a tiny human figure appeared. Roar! Upon seeing the blood-colored avatar appear and Master Qin Qin controlling the green seal text, the entire soul-tempering cave emitted a strange sound once again. Wisps of black gas appeared again, and were sent into the Black Hound by Master Qin Qin. After half a day, the last wisp of black gas was sent into the Black Dog. Then Master Qin Qin shouted, "Reverend Xiao, send the power of bloodline into the soul." All right. Xiao Hua shook his hand and the blood-colored avatar flew into the air. Before Xiao Hua could release the soul strands, Master Qin Qin's soul strands grabbed the blood-colored avatar and sent it into the Black Dog. Woof! As the little person entered the Black Dog's body, a clear bark rang out. The entire Black Dog began to move. All of the black gas and green light entered the Black Dog's mouth along with the bark. Even the azure surrounding the soul-refining cave was torn apart, turning into blue waves that fell into the black gas mouth. With another soft bark sounded. A blurry black shadow appeared in the air. It looked like smoke, but also like a ghost's hand crack. With a thunderous sound, Master Qin Qin activated another green seal rune. This green seal rune landed directly on the black shadow. The black shadow disappeared the moment it touched the green seal rune. The green seal rune also turned into specks of light and fell to the left. Woof woof! The Black Dog seemed to be angry and kept barking. Then, one black shadow after another appeared around the Black Dog. "Reverend Xiao, help me," Master Qin Qin shouted anxiously. "How do I help?" Xiao Hua was confused. "Use the flame to envelop the soul," Master Qin Qin said anxiously. Okay, when Xiao Hua heard that it was so simple, he quickly activated the spirit flame. Sure enough, the Black Dog in the soul was afraid of the spirit flame. It didn't dare to move when it was enveloped by the spirit flame. Occasionally, it would touch the spirit flame, but it would be burned into smoke. Master Qin Qin chanted a few more green seal text, and killed the black shadow summoned by the Black Dog. Then she took a deep breath and withdrew all the soul strands into her body. She opened her mouth and a huge green seal text spun and enveloped the Black Dog. Wang! A loud roar came from the green seal text, causing Xiao Hua's heart to tremble. "Reverend Xiao Hua, quickly withdraw the spirit flame." Master Qin Qin's voice sounded like an ant in front of the green seal text. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.